up, Woodward. We are starting off your day with a brand new crew. Meet Broder.
I can't control my arms sometimes. My limbs are just kind of flying.
Detroit Kool-Aid.
Fired up!
Y'all got Kool-Aid.
I'm fired up! But with the Wake Up Woodward crew, he's actually a part of the family.
Flannel Sam.
Ask me about my wiener.
Okay.
Along with JB and KG. Wake Up Woodward gets you all of your Detroit sports talk. Every morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Live on Woodward Sports. A show for Detroit, by Detroit, with people from Detroit. Tell Siri to set an alarm, because it's time to Wake Up Woodward.
What up, though, people? It's Wake Up Woodward, and we appreciate you all for kicking off this day with the WUW Crew. And it's a big weekend for the Detroit Grand Prix. The city is the backdrop. You know, the second year in a row now that they're going to have it in downtown Detroit rather than on the island. So it's going to be big. Shout out to that dude, Justin, Cavassier Chase, and JB Smooth. We're going to be stepping into, I would like to say, a little bit of a spotlight this weekend, but it's your boy Brendan Dan, a.k.a. Detroit Kool-Aid, your credential Pistons reporter, writer for the network. We got Flannel Sam, the vet of the squad, the vet of the network, Red Wings correspondent, and I'm looking forward to Woodward Wings this week, but we got a whole lot on the menu today.
Yeah, Woodward Wings was absolutely electric, and the Shaquille Oatmeal in the chat, they're going to have to change the intro with everyone leaving. That is, I've been witness to some of our very own Ryan Lentz cooking some things up, and he even shot some B-roll of yours truly yesterday, so that is coming soon. Shout out, by the way, to Broder and KG. That will always be a legendary intro.
Legendary, and you know what, with legendary people too. Shout out to KG and Broder, who you know, I'm looking forward to what these guys are going to do with that weekend content and their availabilities, and I'm looking forward to what KG does in this space and in his opportunities. The one thing I know is this: if I could have both of those guys on this show, I definitely would. And that's how this thing started. And the fact that both of those guys have said, look, we're in this thing to support you guys. Hey, let's rock, man. And let's get into Detroit. I know we're going to get into some Detroit sports, but we do got NBA playoffs.
Yes.
NBA playoffs. And this series is of interest to me, the Pacers and the Knicks, because when we talk about those all dysfunction teams, you know who's not in that? The Pacers and the Knicks. So these are some of the teams that I do expect the Pistons to be battling with next season. But there's one player of intrigue, man, that just continues to haunt the Detroit Pistons. It has for years, for seasons, man. And it was pretty nice to actually see him take a L, man.
Yes.
It was nice.
Well, all right. So great setup. I already told Kool-Aid what I wanted this segment to turn into before it started. And I'll tell you what. I think it's going to polarize the chat big time. I think there's going to be people that are going to agree with me and people who are going to disagree. Hell, Stick might come from wherever he's doing and actually like yank me off the show himself, but we shall see. And Chuck Brewer, he's picking a little bit.
So this isn't TLB, huh?
No, this is not. This is not TLB. We will get to that later. And by the way, we're going to talk about another player on the PFF list that may contribute heavily for the Lions this next up year, but is not technically on the Lions right now. And we're also going to get some comments by Mike Florio and Chris Sims. We're going to get to all that. And if we have time, and that's a big if, I do at some point, whether it's today or next week, want to talk about what a Stanley Cup title would mean for the legacy of one Mr. Connor McDavid. But that is a maybe thing. If you guys want me to talk about it and me, Chase, to talk about it, we will put... Yes. Hey, Justin,
shout out to that dude, Justin, who just walked
I was
in.
told that you weren't here today. I was told that you weren't going to be on the show today, Justin. But of course, if you're here, if we've got time,
Look at Snazzy.
we will.
We got Grand Prix business to do.
Yes.
That dude, Justin.
No, of course, if Justin's on the show,
we have the wardrobe for you.
Me and him being 2/3, of course, of Woodward Wings. But let me just say this about the Knicks and Pacers. Right now, you can call me Flannel Mazaway at this point, or Maz Flannel, because I am all in on the New York Knicks coming back and winning this series. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but I want it to happen in the worst way possible.
You might have to give me a Maz impression, man, impersonation now. You have to eat. JB even said yeah.
Oh, yeah. Derek Jeter's the best player ever. He's the captain.
War bonds.
Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter. I actually
shout out to Maz.
That wasn't
dog.
To be honest, Stick actually does the best Maz. But I'm all in.
Spencer's is pretty good too.
Spencer's is great too, but I am all in on the New York Knicks coming back and winning this series. You know what? I'll even do the defense defense chant for that. And you know why? Because I want Tyrese Halliburton vanquished in the worst way. In the worst way possible. Because Tyrese Halliburton still isn't better than Cade Cunningham, and I don't give a fuck who that offends.
Nah.
And I have a lot of evidence to support that, by the way. And I'm going to start out with this. First off, Tyrese Halliburton doesn't even lead his own team in scoring in the playoffs. He doesn't. It's Pascal Siakam. Tyrese Halliburton got away with not even having an all-star season this year, and they still had a higher seed than the Detroit Pistons. Their one all-star, the Pacers, was Pascal Siakam. And I understand Tyrese Halliburton played better down the stretch, but that doesn't make anything of what I said less true. And before I continue to poke holes in what is allegedly a flawless playoff resume, which is insane this year, by the way, I'll give Tyrese Halliburton this. He does have a legendary run of clutch shots, and that's big time. I will not take that away from him at all. He did have a legendary game in which the 30-10-15 no-turnover game. That's legendary. I'm not going to take that away from him. And he does have a legendary assist-to-turnover ratio in this playoffs. However, there is a caveat to that. Give him a lot of credit, but one thing that I think people don't realize about Tyrese Halliburton is he is not a high-usage basketball player, and that will put your turnovers down a lot. Trust me, Tyrese Halliburton is not a high-usage player, and certainly not even close to the usage level of Cade Cunningham. But the reason why last night really started to trigger me and why I wanted to do this about Tyrese Halliburton.
Just for the context, just so you guys know, the difference in usage between Tyrese Halliburton and Cade Cunningham is nearly 13%.
Yes.
21.6 for Tyrese this season. For Cade Cunningham, that number is 33.2. So forgive me because I've been saying 33.1 for the last 2 weeks.
Sure.
Shout out Cade.
And for the record, just to further that stat, in the playoffs, it is a little bit closer, but and I rounded up or down. Cade Cunningham 31%, Tyrese Halliburton 23%. So it's still a pretty big,
just a little bit closer.
A pretty big gap. But and I've got a lot of. I was in my bag this morning. I'm not gonna lie. I've got quite a few numbers when it comes to Mr. Tyrese Halliburton because last night something happened that has happened more times than you think in these playoffs. I'm sick and tired of Tyrese Halliburton playing these clunk, skunk, fuck, terrible games and getting away with it, and sometimes winning. Last night, he had a grand total of 8 points, 2 field goals made. And this led me to make this list. And this is the one, JB, titled Tyrese Halliburton 2025 Playoffs. If you would like to throw that one up for me, please. This is my first of many. I will just say that. Totally hijacking this first segment. 4 times Tyrese Halliburton has scored 11 points or less in this playoffs. The Pacers are 2-2 in those games. 5 times he has shot under 40%. And of course, these games, they're not obviously separate. A lot of them are together, of course.
Professor
5
Flannel.
times he shot under 40% in a playoff game. The Pacers are 2-3. Look at this last one. 8 times. The Pacers have played 15 playoff games this playoffs. That's more than half. 8 times he has shot 30% or less from behind the arc. The Pacers are 5-3 in those games. And here is one of the reasons why. I've got many numbers on that as well. You know how I told you that Pascal Siakam actually leads this team in playoff points? Let's go back to one of my favorite graphics that I did before. Let's go to the Indiana Pacers playoff 3-point shooting one to show you why Tyrese Halliburton can get away with this. Look at this. Look at this generationally great 3-point shooting by his teammates, not by him. Pascal Siakam, 45% on 3 attempts per game. Miles Turner, 39% on 4 attempts per game. Aaron Nesmith, 50% on 6 attempts per game. And Andrew Nembhard, somebody who doesn't even shoot threes well in the regular season, when it comes playoff time, he all of a sudden turns into the greatest 3-point shooter we've ever seen. 49% on 4 attempts per game. Maybe the single greatest 3-point shooting playoff elevator as opposed to regular season we've ever seen. Go ahead and look up the numbers. Wouldn't it have been nice for Cade Cunningham to throw the ball at least to playoff Aaron Nesmith or playoff Andrew Nembhard instead of playoff Malik Beasley and playoff Tim Hardaway Jr., that would have been nice. Wouldn't it have been nice for him to have veteran, seasoned Miles Turner as his teammate instead of baby Jalen Duren? That would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice for Cade Cunningham to have a real second star like Pascal Siakam, who made an all-star team this year, has made 3 all-star teams, has made 2 all-NBAs, has been a champion with the Toronto Raptors, and honestly may end up putting together a very under-the-radar, underrated Hall of Fame legacy if he keeps it up for a couple of more years? That would be nice. And I'm not saying that Tyrese Halliburton hasn't played a part in getting these guys good looks. He's obviously had a lot of assists. But the reality is there is a difference, as I said, to throwing the ball to 3-point playoff Nesmith and Nembhard versus 3-point playoff Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr.
And you know what? Who's had the better surrounding cast? No matter how much we love our role players here in Detroit, who's had the better surrounding cast to this point? Just to add to this. So you know what's interesting is that not all assists are equal. Not all point guards are created the same. Yeah. When you look at the advanced metrics just that much more, what you get is this picture that Cade Cunningham is still 5% higher than Tyrese Halliburton in assist percentage. So the amount of time that he's on the court, you talk about that usage. What is Cade Cunningham using? 43% of his usage, 43% of the assists of his teammates' field goals while he's on the court. That's coming from Cade Cunningham. Tyrese Halliburton's is only sitting at just above 38%, which is insane to me, which shows the overall effect of Cade Cunningham. This is what I love, too. When you just kind of look at the total rebound percentage, the defensive rebound percentage, the offensive rebound percentage, you get a completely different picture there, too. Why? Because Cade Cunningham is almost double the the total rebound percentage than Tyrese Halliburton. So you're talking about a player who's not ball hogging at all to get the usage, but going out there as the point guard and assisting and then creating even more opportunities by battling in the paint. His defensive rebound percentage from the point guard is going to be some of the best in the league. And these are the things that I feel like people just forget. Whether you think Cade's having an off shooting night or not, his overall impact in the game is something that you can't go unnoticed. And that's why I'm glad that the NBA world is celebrating him. Everybody else is celebrating. There's no more confusion. I even saw, and I think I sent it to you and JB Flannel, Hoop Central put out their top point guard cheers list. No hesitation. They put Cade in there. Only 4 point guards in the superstar point guard list. 4. No hesitation. You think Tyrese was in that? No. And that's the crazy part, is that I'm starting to figure out and find out that a lot of the noise that I'm hearing about the discourse between Cade, Tyrese, Cade and this player, Cade and that player, a lot of that noise seems to be coming here, because when I look at the stats, when I look at the numbers, when I look at the responsibility, which people seem to just forget about, and I look at the supporting cast, Cade is doing a whole lot with a whole lot less. And I don't understand how people don't see that. You got the stats up here. It's not just what Pascal is doing from 3-point, in 3-point. Pascal Siakam is a guy who can go out there and handle everything the way that you would want a number one to do. And we were just talking about this. The only time Cade really had that in anybody with a vet presence was Jeremy Grant. And they had that 10-14 stretch post All-Star break in the games they played in, and it looked pretty good. But when's the last time you could really remember him bringing the ball down the court? And I know we got that in kind of Tobias Harris light, but imagine having that in a Pascal Siakam. Yeah. In addition to all of these other players. We know what Miles Turner is. That dude is haunting the Detroit Pistons for years.
Jalen Duren's a baby.
Yeah.
That plays a role as well. I'm not saying that Jalen Duren isn't good and I don't like his potential, but Miles Turner is a vet. And let me just respond to this to a Wheezy D313. I'm actually going to be calm about this, because at the end of the day, I can play this game as well as he can. Hallie on the Pistons would have beat the Knicks. I don't want to hear it. I'll tell you what, if you put Cade Cunningham with Siakam, Turner, Nesmith, and Nembhard, the Pacers that team would be exactly where the Pacers are right now. No question about it. And I'll tell you what, Wheezy, you don't like Beasley either. You've made it very clear you don't like Beasley. And honestly, he had a bad playoffs. Imagine if Tyrese Halliburton had to swing the ball to this playoff Malik Beasley instead of playoff Nesmith and playoff Nembhard. Come on, man. Come on. You think that Halliburton's mind control would have guided Beasley's bricks in as swishes? No. That's why we always say that teammates matter. And I'm not saying that Tyrese Halliburton's profile as a whole hasn't grown. He's had a very good playoffs, and he's had legendary moments. And I'll tell you what, too, if he goes on and wins the Finals MVP this year, I will shut the fuck up and I will concede. I will. But for now, Tyrese Halliburton is absolutely not having a legendary playoff run. He's having a very good one with legendary moments, and he's not better than Cade Cunningham.
And I love this, the lunchbox. Imagine Cade not being 1 for 8 from 3 and turns it and effectively not turning it over in clutch times. We need that, but I assure you this. Even in those scenarios, there comes a point in time where the other team is just that much more talented than your team. And I think that that's something that just continues to be missed by people. The two things can be the same. You want your superstar in Cade Cunningham, who's about to be getting paid a lot of money. He just upped that annual value as well, since he's now NBA All-Star, all NBA player. He just got $45 million tacked onto that contract, Flannel Sam. So trust me, nobody up here is saying, hey, Cade Cunningham is just the perfect player. There's no room for improvement. I want to see Cade Cunningham go out there and punch the ticket on everything that we've been saying for 4 years we believe he could be, even before he got drafted here. You know, and obviously in this business, that means a lot. You want to see the words that you put out there. You want to see the players that you say are going to be the next level and going to be the star. You want to see those things pan out, especially if it's for your hometown team. With the aspect of Cade Cunningham, though, I love what Weezy D313 is saying right here in comparison to what's going on with the Pacers. And it to me is the biggest thing, the biggest reason behind what Lunchbox is saying. I don't think he knows it. Indiana built it the right way. I do believe this. You can get some improvement out of Cade Cunningham without him doing anything else in the offseason besides maintaining, if you do give him a little bit more. You look at it this offseason. They gave him a little bit more, and look at what happens to his assist percentage. It took a jump. His turnover percentage, it went down. No matter what people are saying about the totals, the more time he's standing out there is saying he's getting more assists and the turnovers are going down. Imagine if you now gave this master creator that much more to work with. Yes, and then on top of that, the way that this dude is a gym rat, this has to be the stuff that's eaten at Cade Cunningham. The turnovers are going to be his biggest thing, because what do we continue to sit here and say? That we know he's not at the table with guys like Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, Shai Gilgeous. These guys don't turn the ball over. And Cade has to solve that, because he's going to get all the attention. He's the one that's going to have the usage. They're not going to solve that. They're not going to solve that. He's going to be the one with the ball. And so from that perspective, he's going to have to solve that.
Well, and this is where I want to be fair to go to the Pistons three-point shooters as well, because it's going to look very bad for a couple of players, as I've already alluded to. But it's also not going to look great for our star as well. If you've got that one JB Smoove, obviously Cade, let's just call a spade. Cade Cunningham's three-point percentage in the playoffs is gross. It's filthy. It makes me want to vomit. I'll give you that. That's especially that 0 for 8 in Game 6. Can't happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But that is definitely in my opinion, probably his biggest black mark on this year's playoffs was that 18% from behind the arc. However, at least he kept his attempts down relatively. Look at this bullshit up here. Look at this bullshit. Malik Beasley, he could build a street with the bricks that he's laying, and then Tim Hardaway could build the exact same street on another block with the bricks that he was laying.
You have a whole new Cork Town.
Yes, just and that's what I'm talking about. They were getting good looks. It wasn't always Cade getting it for him, but sometimes it was, and they were more often than not just bricking. The difference is what you're seeing from the Pacers in terms of their role players this playoffs is that Andrew Nembhard is proving to be a consistent role player playoff elevator. Unfortunately, as much as we love what Malik Beasley did in the regular season, he has been a consistent, and this isn't just this year, this isn't previous years, role player playoff dropper. And Tim Hardaway Jr., there is a reason why last year he was intermittently in and out of the Dallas Mavericks rotation. Tim Hardaway Jr., even though we all loved what he did in the regular season and predicted that he would have a role in the playoffs, he kind of turned into playoff THJ. That's not good. That's not Cade's fault, though. That's not Cade's fault.
It wasn't good. It was just regular season. And that's kind of the thing. Think about this. They did, because this kind of leads into what Ed O'Neill's asking. So what do the Pistons have to do? I believe that they identified what they needed for the regular season, but right now you're going to have to identify who do you know can, what is the phrase you keep using? Elevate in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who are your playoff elevators this free agency? That's where I believe the Pistons' focus has to be, whether it's internal, because you're going to have to look at those young players before you decide that you're just going to start gutting the team to be able to bring in one of those people via trade. But then when you got what Shams is saying, that he's hearing that this is going to be one of your wildest free agencies, you can't be surprised if the Pistons go and say, you know what? We have an opportunity right now in this wide open East to get things done. Because do you believe that the Pistons sit back and know that Cade Cunningham is better than Tyrese Halliburton? And
They,
when you think
in
about
their heart
this,
of hearts, they believe
we
it.
know
And
that.
I believe it too, by the way.
and that's why when you look at the roster, it's not that difficult when you have a player that's that much better than Tyrese Halliburton. You don't even have to get him everything that Tyrese has. That's the point. This team doesn't have that many weaknesses to upgrade. They just have to make sure that they can find a way to strike this off season. And if not, this is where it gets tricky. You're going to have Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson step towards star. The reason why I never put Jaden Ivey in that is because I already believe Jaden Ivey to be a guy that's on that trajectory. I don't put him in that. The only thing you're waiting to see now is how the injury will affect him. But we already saw where he was headed. But with Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson, you have to have those guys step there. No matter who else you bring in. Unless you're using those guys in a trade, if they're not stepping up, you're going to find yourself right back in the same positions. What happens in a playoff time? You're going to need those guys to play the majority of the minutes. You're not going to the playoffs saying, hey, sorry, go sit on the bench. So if those guys don't take the step forward, it don't matter what four you bring into this team, your team is going to still meet some of the same fates. Because what do we say? What teams are you going to be battling with? The Pacers and the Knicks, who up until this season, we know the regular season what we did, but they beat us in the playoffs. And the Pacers, we just can't solve them.
Oh, and they're proving to be an even better team than I gave them credit for, and I'm glad that
saying it too.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that Lunchbox brought this up, even though I disagree, because it's a perfect transition. Because I got a couple more numbers that I want to give. Trust me, I don't say things like this just to say it. This has been building for a while for me. Lunchbox, Sam, were you the same way against these players when they won you games when Cade struggled? We're not talking about the regular season. We're talking about the playoffs. And also, name me one game in these playoffs where the Pistons won where Cade struggled. You can't. You literally can't, because in Game 2 that they won, Cade had his most efficient shooting game, and in Game 5 when they won, he struggled initially, but he had his best fourth quarter. However, them Indiana Pacers have won several, and I mean several games in which Tyrese Halliburton has struggled. So go to the one, JB Smoove, with Tyrese Halliburton playoff wins for this year.
And after that, I want to read one more thing from Big Con.
Absolutely. Games 1 and 2 in the first round. These are his shooting numbers. They were 2-0 in these games, by the way. 11 of 32 from the floor, 34%. 3 of 17 from behind the arc, 18%. And I understand that Tyrese Halliburton did average a lot of assists in those games. However, that should, when you are that superstar who's having a legendary playoff run, this is the type of shooting game that should shoot your team out of games. You can't get away with this. Tyrese Halliburton did.
We're going to have to.
Getting away
I don't
with
even care. We're going to have to do some content where we do not care about monetization at all. Because I want to actually play the film side by side.
Yes.
Like, I want people to be able to see how the defense is cratering, effectively just caving in on Cade, but around Tyrese, they're craters. What that means is where he is, it's wide open, but everything else around him is where you see the wall built up. Why? Because they're not going to try and just let Miles Turner tee off from 3. They know what Pascal Siakam is. How do we know? That man was in the All-Star game. They're not just going to sit back and let these 3-point shooters kill them. They're effectively saying, hey, Tyrese, we dare you to beat us. And when you look at that, that's where you're going to see he's going to get some assists, because it's a feeder game. They're going to have one of your teams from a physical standpoint, from a size standpoint, that's going to dominate. That's already going to give Tyrese Halliburton, who is a good point guard, the ability to make some plays, especially when you look at the 3-point shooting. You look at the potential assists for Cade Cunningham versus a Tyrese Halliburton, and that's when you realize you put these same level of players around, and you know what? Because it kind of feeds into what Big Con was saying here. He was saying, Sam, are Cade's points, because he addressed it to you, are Cade's points going down if he's on the Pacers? Cade and Hallie are the same style player. No, they're not. The difference is we need Cade to be Kobe and Pacers only need a Chauncey. No, bro, their usage rates have been so crazy different because you really don't want the ball out of Cade's hands. One of the things I've been saying for 2 years now is that I do believe this. Cade is one of those types of players who can get you 30-plus and points per game and 10-plus assists per game. How do we know this? Look at the potential assists. Look at the potential assists. You look at where Cade's numbers are, and you look at how much was just left out there by his teammates, and this is not to indict them because his teammates are part of why they had this great success. We're now just talking about this, like how we do with the Lions trying to get over the hump of that next level. Not just, we made it to the playoffs. No, these Pistons came and said, we want the playoffs this year, and we want to be an experienced team next year. So that's where we're talking about with this. These players have to get better. They just weren't. You look at how many misses there were in Flannel. I thought that's what stands out like a sore thumb when you look at those percentages. Imagine if those percentages were there. Cade can be an efficient scorer if the defense is backed off. Who's defending Cade one-on-one? Who's even really effectively defending him with a one-on-one but a double-team hedge coming late? Nobody. I see him. He'll spin baseline and all this. But when they're aggressively trapping him because they don't believe in anybody else on the court, that's the difference. They're not doing that. They're not going and saying, you know what? If we take Tyrese out, we can take all of the Pacers out. Nobody believes that. I promise you that. But with Cade Cunningham, that's always going to be the thing. They've done that since his rookie season. And it's insane to see how much respect he's getting from the league. More so than what some of the discourse would be amongst people who watch him and say that they root for him. Yep. We should be putting more or less the pressure on the front office to say, hey, go out there and make sure that he has everything at his disposal because he's proving if you give him the rock, you give him the usage, a whole lot of good is going to happen for Cade Cunningham.
Absolutely. And Chuck Brewer, this is, even though I'm like trying to eviscerate some things about Tyrese Haliburton's game. Tyrese Haliburton shrunk under pressure, but I was told he was better. To be fair, you're allowed to have bad playoff moments. My problem is when Tyrese Haliburton has several terrible shooting games, several games in which he's not the best player on the floor for the team, and people act like they want to just ignore that and act like Tyrese Haliburton is having this all-time legendary playoff run, or he's carrying the team, or he's the best point guard in the league and the best point guard in the East. I hate when he gets away with it. I'm not even necessarily mad at last night because at least they got blown out. But JB, go ahead and put that back because I'm not done, by the way.
Weezy got me cracking up, though. Yeah. Weezy D, please don't lie and say Hallie don't play defense. Can Hallie defend Cade? No.
Sam, you got to do the Billy Mays, but I'm not done yet.
But I'm not done yet. And for the record, Weezy, I never said anything about Tyrese Haliburton's defense. I've never held that against him in this playoffs, and I'm still not going to. But go back to that one, JB, if you would. Look at Eastern Conference Semifinals Game 4. 3 of 8 from the floor, 1 of 5 from 3, 11 points, only 5 assists, by the way. And Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, and Obi fucking Toppin each had 20+. Obi Toppin and Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam. How about Eastern Conference Finals Game 1? That was the one of the greatest playoff games I've ever seen. I think any of us have ever seen. And Tyrese Haliburton did play well, and he had the iconic moment in that game. However, look at that three-point shooting percentage by Aaron Nesmith in Game 1. 8 of 9, 30 points, including the greatest display of three-point shooting in a small stretch I have ever seen in my entire life. The Indiana Pacers were going to lose that game by double freaking digits if Aaron Nesmith doesn't go 5 for 5 from 3 in like a 2.5-minute stretch to cut the lead. Tyrese Haliburton had the moment, but that was the Aaron Nesmith game. Don't get it twisted. And how about Eastern Conference Finals Game 2? 5 of 6 from the floor, 3 of 10 from 3, 14 points on 16 shots. Pascal Siakam scores 39. Again, if you want to say that Haliburton is a leader of a good team and he's having a very nice playoffs, I'm okay with that. But the slob knobbing, the acting like he's a legend or he's already the best point guard in the league and that he's carrying the team, that's just not true.
I can't wait. Like, I just want this to just continue on for a few more years. Because Tyrese Haliburton is going to get his counting stats. Tyrese Haliburton is going to have, I believe, some cute playoff runs. The Pacers always do, and they don't culminate in much. And I believe that at the end of the day, this is going to be one of those things where we're looking at Cade Cunningham having elevated the Detroit Pistons to a championship at some point in time during his tenure here, and we're having the same discourse that we have over Isaiah Thomas and John Stockton, which is absolutely Tom freaking foolery. You could see it already right now. There's just a completely different level to but people really believe there's a conversation between Zeke and Stockton, like they're trying to do right now. And it's just like, what are we looking at?
Well, for the record, Cade and Hallie's legacies are incomplete, but I know
they're incomplete. And that's why I said that's why I had to build up the narrative a little bit. I do believe the Pacers are going to be exactly like we know them to be, exactly who we know you are. It's exactly the same that we saw. In which era do you want? Which one? It's always cute playoff runs, and that's cool. That's really cool. But as it relates to what we know Detroit does when they lock in, it's always culminating in championship aspirations, and that's the point here. When you talk about playoff elevators, one thing I will stamp about Cade, at least for me, my opinion, is that Cade is the type of player that you can win a championship with. He is the type of player you could build that team around and know from a usage standpoint he can handle that. Are there things that he's going to have to improve on, things that he's going to have to prove? Yes, of course. But as it relates to what Tyrese Halliburton has around him, what Tyrese Halliburton is asked to do, what Tyrese Halliburton's skill set is, he's a fine point guard that if you put the ball in his hands, you give him some nice things to work with, he can run that show. I think in NFL we call that, a system quarterback. And that doesn't mean that a system quarterback is a quarterback that's bad. Not to me. But when you're sitting here, you talking about the next of the next, the top level, I would like to then see him in certain situations that we've seen Cade in. I would like to see him go a playoff series without a Pascal Siakam and have Nesmith be a non-factor from behind the arc. I would like to see that. Hey, Miles Turner, just go take the whole series off. Now let's see what Tyrese Halliburton is, because anybody who's out there saying what they're saying about him, you really believe Hallie is going to be able to carry the Pacers without the other top players who've made like all-star above him. That's what people really want me to believe. Then why would they have gone out and done what I'm hoping the Pistons do eventually and get Siakam in the first place?
He's a real second star.
Why would they get him then?
It was a mid-season acquisition last year.
He was enough. They already had some players. Why do you need to go and get Siakam if Tyrese is what some people try to say he is?
Yeah, I mean, and that was a great move by them. You want to insulate your players as much as possible, but yeah, without Pascal Siakam, the Pacers are a play-in team, and that's fine. By the way, I'm not. That isn't a knock on Tyrese Halliburton. It's the point that teammates matter, and I do have just one more. I know we've gone long. I know. People are probably ready for the Lions talk, and we will get there. I got one more.
But wait,
there's more. Times leading team in scoring in 2025 playoffs. Cade Cunningham led the Pistons in scoring 5 times in 6 games. Tyrese Halliburton has done it 5 times in 15 games. And by the way, notable players who have led the Pacers in scoring in playoff games. Pascal Siakam 5, which isn't a surprise because he leads the team overall in playoff scoring. Miles Turner 2. A guy that I haven't even freaking mentioned, Benedict Mathurin, has led the Pacers in scoring in 2 playoff games this year. And, of course, Andrew Nembhard with 1. And, oh, by the way, you don't see Aaron Nesmith on that list because in the Eastern Conference Finals Game 1, he had 30 on 8 of 9 from behind the arc, and Tyrese Halliburton had 31. It's just the point that I'm trying to convey is I think there's a lot of lies going around about Tyrese Halliburton. He does not have the type of responsibility that a lot of players in the NBA have. And you can win a lot being high usage. This idea that you can't is just insane. And Tyrese Halliburton is not that.
And Big Con, hey bro, I see you in the chat, bro, and you're one of our regulars. And this is just my last thing on it. And he was saying that effectively Cade scores those points only because he has the usage. That effectively Tyrese Halliburton could do the same. Do you understand what their points were per 100 possessions this year? Do you realize what their points? All right, Tyrese Halliburton per 100 possessions, man. What was the 100? I think it was about 26. There it is. 26.6 points per game per 100 possessions for Tyrese Halliburton. For Cade Cunningham, do you know how many points it is per 100 possessions? 36 points. That's insane.
That's what we're talking about.
So if you want to level the playing field, everything that Halliburton does, Cade does at an extremely better level. At like per 100, you can just look at the rebounds, the assists, the points. Cade is just a different dude. That this is where it proves that you really do need to do a lot more to get more around it, because it would be different if his assist rate was like 30%. But it's not that. It's 43%, which is higher than Tyrese Halliburton's. So the time he's spending on the floor, he's literally assisting to his teammates at a higher rate than Tyrese Halliburton and scoring at a higher rate than him. Imagine if K does just fix that efficiency, which can be helped two ways. What he does to get better and what the team does around him, like the Pacers, you got to clap their hands. They knew what they had in Tyrese. They went out there and they made the appropriate deals, and now they're going to be one of the best teams, I believe, situated in the East for the next couple of years.
Sure, the Pistons are going to be battling with the Pacers. And Lunchbox, you're completely missing my point. Sam, where's the stats for Pistons 1 win away from the finals? Oh, no, they didn't make it. Bro, my point is that it's the Pacers who are 1 win away. It's not Tyrese and the Halliburtonettes, which is what I keep getting told on every fucking show ever. It's a great
So you're not a Hallie, bro?
Absolutely not. And for the record, before we talk Lions, and I promise we'll talk Lions in just a second, and Kumbaya, if Tyrese Halliburton wins the Finals MVP, I will concede him to Cade for now and zip my lips. I'll tell you what, too.
I won't. I will.
No.
And you know what? I'll give you even another one. I'll be even more fair. If Tyrese Halliburton, let's just say, well, they still got to make it, by the way, but I'm assuming they still will. If they make the finals, and Tyrese Halliburton, let's just, for example, has objectively the best playoff series of his career, and they fall short to a better Thunder team, which I do believe the Thunder are a better team, I will also concede to Halliburton being over Cade for now. But until then, I will not, and you can't make me. And I'm not trying to be petulant. I gave a lot of reasons. I didn't just come here and just say shit just to say it. You know, that's not how I roll.
I like Kevon in the chat. I hope I'm saying that right. He's been on one this morning. I've seen you, bro. Thank you guys for the support, man. Chat family, as always, you guys are the most important part of this thing. Thank you for, you know what, and I knew this. As soon as he said, I'm going to hijack it with Tyrese Halliburton, I was like, that's my chance to talk Pistons.
Yes.
So, but you know what, man, this is what Detroit sports is all about. And think about it. There was a time we tried to do this with a team that was winning 17 and 14 games. And now we're doing this with a squad that realistically, I believe everybody's expectation is go out there and take one of those top 4 seeds next year in the East. You see, it's right there for them. Even though I do believe that the Pacers this year are a better team than the Pistons, even though I do believe that with Stu, the Pistons could have gotten past, and a little bit more from Beasley, could have gotten past the Knicks. I do believe that going into next year, learn from those mistakes. You're expecting Trajan Langdon, who's already had a fabulous first offseason, to go and have a second one. And a tricky offseason, but I think we got the best front office. Mike Blackistone and his team, they are official. The Pistons are going to know how to do everything from a contract and a first and a second apron and CBA maneuvering. They got that figured out, so I'm not worried from that standpoint. They flexed their muscles with Dennis Schroeder already.
Oh, yeah.
And got his bird rights.
Hey, shout out bird rights, and I think this is a good place to end on. Lunchbox, how about Sam has to wear a Hallie jersey if he wins the title? If Tyrese Halliburton wins the Finals MVP this year, I will buy a Tyrese Halliburton jersey and wear it. That's how confident I am that it is not going to happen. And if it does, I will have all kinds of egg on my face and a Tyrese Halliburton jersey. I am a man of my word. I believe in my heart of hearts that it is not going to happen and that the Oklahoma City Thunder are ultimately going to come home with the NBA title. But a Lunchbox deal, but it has to be a Finals MVP.
That would be the ultimate. Shea gets the MVP while the Pacers are celebrating the championship.
I would be very, very upset. I would want to call in sick, but I won't. But Chase, tell us about Mad Packs before we TLB.
Yeah, absolutely. Mad Packs. Here to talk to you about the hottest new cannabis brand. They're partnering with Woodward Sports. Products launching on May 30th, 2025. If you look at your calendar, ladies and gentlemen, that is today. So you can go get Mad Packs today. It's going to take your game to the next level. High-low, getting you high for the low, delivering you top-tier quality at unbeatable prices. Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka is a live resin infused tarantula, and this one's the bomb. Blizzard packs, THCA moon rocks that hit like a blizzard, coming to select retailers on May 30th, 2025. Check the calendar, folks. That's today. Stay tuned with Woodward Sports Network for all of the latest updates.
You know how some things are so good they should be world famous, but they're not? Our house-made vinaigrette is one of those things. And the antipasto salad, we drizzle it over. Same with our hand-battered chicken tenders. Original recipe soups and pasta sauces. It's almost as if our original, world-famous Detroit-style pizza is mocking them. And that's not very nice.
Testing. Testing, hot mic. Yeah, I think it's working.
Twice a week, Dr. Jeff Pierce from Michigan Sports and Spine joins Woodward Sports Network for the Injury Insider Report. Big D Energy Tuesdays at noon, and Armani and Edwards with Maz Thursdays at 3:30. Get expert analysis and in-depth breakdowns on the latest sports injuries from the man trusted by top athletes in the community, like D-Mac. Whether it's the Lions, Pistons, Tigers, or Red Wings, Dr. Pierce talks us through it all. Don't miss the Injury Insider Report with Dr. Jeff Pierce, your go-to source for understanding the impact of injuries on the games and players we love. Only on Woodward Sports Network. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to MichiganSportsandSpine.com to see if Dr. Jeff Pierce can help you.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in the clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
All right, sports fans, whether you're simply chilling at home or hitting the game, Jars Cannabis has you covered. Jars is home to Michigan's largest line of recreational cannabis products. 27 locations across the state, 9 alone in Metro Detroit. But don't fear, because if you live in Grand Rapids, Madison Heights, or Milan, Michigan, stores are popping up your way very, very soon. Don't have time to check out all their products in store? Look them up on jarscannabis.com or their Instagram at jars_live, because you know what? I know y'all want to get high.
What
It's
up, though,
Friday.
people? It's
You ain't
Wake
got
Up
no
Woodward,
job.
man.
You ain't got shit to do.
Shout out to the elite booth, man. Cavassier Chase in the sound booth. We also got Woodward Sports MVP, JB Smooth in the TD booth. And you know what? DNC, just one more thing. He says, I don't like how this has become a crap on Holly segment. Holly is him. He ain't better than Cade, but he ain't a bum. He's a good player. He's still a bum.
I mean, here's the thing. I think what I'm doing
I
is
appreciate you, DNC.
I think what I'm doing is providing balance to the just consistent. People just forget that Tyrese Halliburton had legendary moments, but has been very, very inconsistent these playoffs. And that's all that I'm saying. Great player, deserved All NBA third team for sure. Deserves to be known as somebody who can rise his level in the playoffs, but the way that I hear people talk about him, dude, I'll give you an example. My best friend in the entire world, who I've known since I was like 20 years old, he texts me, Tyrese Halliburton is Steph Curry 2.0.
Whoa.
That's the
Chill,
shit that I'm
chill,
talking
chill,
about.
Chill.
That's the shit that I'm talking about.
Come on. I mean, look, the way I hear some Pistons fans talk, you would think the guy was modern day Chauncey Billups. I'm dead serious.
Damn.
It is like, come on. Like, just let's chill on it, man.
He has a
He's good
chance,
player.
in my opinion, to have a better individual playoff run than Chauncey had in 04, but he's got to finish the job. Chauncey and the Pistons already finished the job. That's the biggest caveat. I'm betting a Hallie jersey that he won't. Trust me, there is a long way to go. I put a lot of stock in how you perform in the finals, and if Halliburton rises his level to an even greater level in the finals, I will concede and be quiet. I promise you. I'm not somebody who stays stubborn. I will be quiet and I will concede.
That's right, man. And I know we got a little bit of TLB word to our brother Broder. You don't let the people know what that means.
Lions, bitch.
And we got into those edge rusher rankings. You revealed the top 10. We got to discuss those, and all of us thought it was fair, even though some of us would have liked to see Aiden Hutchinson maybe a little bit higher on that list. More surprisingly than where he was ranked, everybody was pissed off at Parsons. Period. Like that list, that whole conversation got taken over with people's disdain for Michael Parsons being ranked number 2 in the top 10 edge rushers. But as we're talking about what to do in the bookend for Aiden Hutchinson, who was ranked 5th on PFF's top 32 edge rushers list, There was another interesting individual who popped up on this list.
Who did pop on this list? And to be honest, I almost missed it.
Who do you think people? You want to give the people a chance to? Well, I'll give you guys 10 seconds to guess. Who else do you think popped up on this list? Top 32 is PFF's top 32 edge rushers.
Somebody who could or could not have a big say in what the Lions do this season. We'll give you a few seconds.
Yep, and I see somebody definitely is already on it in the chat, man. Mr. Weezy D.
Oh yeah, you cheated, but that's okay. No. Like honestly, the fact that you're looking at PFF list, man after my own heart. But no, it is Za'Darius Smith at 29.
Sign the man.
Za'Darius Smith is at 29.
Free agent Za'Darius Smith?
Free agent Za'Darius
That was
Smith.
previously on the Detroit Lions,
Yes,
who need a
yes.
pass rush potential?
Yes, and somebody who is not currently on the Detroit Lions. And I wanted to read this Reddit because I almost missed it. I was so fixated on Hutch and the top end of the list, but I almost didn't see that Za'Darius Smith finds his way on this list as well. Smith, who turns 33 in September and is currently a free agent, remains one of the NFL's most productive edge defenders. He ranked 7th in pass rush win rate last season at 18.7%, his third consecutive year above 18% after missing all but one game in 2021 due to back surgery. We all know the impact that Za'Darius Smith made. We all were almost certain that this would be the upcoming year where it would be Hutch on one side and Z on the other. But Brad Holmes released him for now. But I'm glad that he's getting his due because I think as more and more time goes that Za'Darius Smith isn't re-signed and isn't signed by anybody, I think people want to discredit him because I think sometimes Lions fans like to do if he's here, he's great. If we get rid of him, he's a bum. 18% or more pass rush win rate in the last 3 years, even in his age 30-plus seasons. That's an elite number. Honestly, if we're just talking about past trends, 29's probably a little low. And he could be on this team still. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that he would be a good addition to this team. When you're talking about a player that already understands the culture, already understands the city, fits in right away, clearly loves the women from here, and played ball. With a defensive line that was a shell of what we expected to be this season. That, to me, was what I was looking forward to, was who Za'Darius Smith was going to be when he didn't have to have all the pressure on him. We talk about the usage rate for Cade. Yeah. Za'Darius Smith found himself in a position where he thought, okay, let me just try and help out with the injury to Aiden, and then found himself with a defensive line that got completely depleted. And not just that, but the back line helped. The linebackers wound up seeing their room get depleted. So now it's just kind of Za'Darius Smith and a band of players that we hope can like even Muhammad and those types of guys that we hope can play their way up. But this is where coming into this season and when they first traded for him, we were like, yo, you know what? Not just for this season, but what they're gonna do next season. We can't wait. And this was a lot of us saying, you know what? We'll accept this because our minds were on the fact that you know what? We had heard he had knocked on the door of Max Crosby. We had heard the rumblings of where he would want to play if it wasn't for the Raiders. We knew that Hendrickson was becoming available and that, you know what, we heard the rumors that he was knocking there, among other defensive ends. We had finally gotten to the point that we've been trying to kumbaya with Brad Holmes for years, and that's, can you go get that pass rush help? Can you go get more? And that's where, when you finally got Za'Darius Smith, we all said, you know what, it's not the big name, but it was a name that we had talked about before he got here via our bro KG, who was on the money with it. He said, I think he could come here if that was the case, if you're looking for kind of a under-the-radar type move, and he fit in right away. So that, to me, is what made it shocking, that even for the money they were trying to save, I understand it, and I get it, because they're going to be shelling out a lot of big contracts. But it just, I don't know, it felt like it was the perfect fit. And when you see that he's still productive even at this age, that's where you have to believe that that's probably where the disconnect may be at. Maybe he does have another multi-year contract in him. Maybe he has that from another team, and the Lions are probably in a position where they just can't afford that. But for a Super Bowl window, I'm like, what can't you afford? You know?
Well, and this is where, and I knew that Weezy D313 is the one who has been very consistent that he's not as high on Za'Darius Smith as others. And I have no problem, for the record, with, I'll just speak to you directly, Weezy. I have no problem with you having a different opinion, for believing in Brad Holmes, for thinking we're a little rough sometimes on the Davenports, the Pascals, and the AQMs of the world. However, This is the type of stuff that I don't like. Let's bring back Brockers, Za'Darius, Charles Harris, and Ashawn to engage either linemen and not get off blocks. My problem with you, Weezy, is you try to victory lap and you have no leg to stand on. You act like we have no leg to stand on. You act like we like him just because he looks like Rasheed Wallace and Embrace the City. No, it's because in 8 games he had 4 sacks, which was literally second most on the team, even though he only played 8 games. He was by far your second most consistent sack getter. And of course, unfortunately, the first and the second, neither of the games intersected. And you look at those pass rush win rates. You can say that there's caveats behind that. You can say that there's things that you see that maybe others don't, and things that you process that others don't, and I'm okay with that. But you can't victory lap. You can't act like, ha, you Za'Darius Smith people were fools. He was fantastic last year. Every number bears out that he was fantastic last year. You can't argue that.
And honestly, where it brings my mind to is, what is it that we're missing that Brad Holmes is clearly seeing so right? Because we missed it 2 years ago when we went into the trade deadline and said he has to get something done. You got to go and you got to bring in pass rush help. And this is when we still had Aiden Hutchinson. And he said, we have enough guys to get to the playoffs. We have enough to win a game. Trust me, guys. We'll get the division locked up. He stood on that podium and stated those things. And it worked out, even despite the fact that none of us believed that was the case. But obviously, you go another year now, you see that he believes that it was somewhat of a need, especially when you're losing to Aiden Hutchinson. But now that things are back to effectively the offseason that he planned for last year, it seems like Brad Holmes is that much more comfortable with what this defensive line is. I believe that he's knocking on wood, thinking that Davenport and Reeder are going to be out there and that those 2 players are going to cause so much havoc and make that much more of a difference. I think that Brad Holmes is a guy who thinks, I identified these players, I know these players will work, I know these players will mess, I understand who they are, and as long as they're available, we're good to go. That's the only thing from a Brad Holmes type of way that I can come away with, is that he's really believing in what he's already put together and that it is enough as long as those guys are healthy.
Yeah, and Za'Darius Smith, speaking of which, has been that 2021 season was obviously, he had a, hurt for all intents and purposes the whole season, but lately he has been very healthy. Before we get back to Big Z, I want to issue a challenge to Mr. Gromit0237 because he has been ruthless on me in this chat, every single chat. I want to challenge you to something. I like puppies, I like pizza. Are you going to disagree with that somehow because it's me, because you don't like my face? I talk about Riley Green, you hate Green. I talk about Za'Darius Smith, you hate Z. Come on now. I like pizza, I like puppies. Will you find a way to disagree with that? Anywho, I digress. Za'Darius.
Too many carbs and I like cats.
Yeah, exactly. But
And you just did
I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat cheese.
with the real time rewind too.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's actually yeah. But Chase, that was a great great thing you had in there, because I'm sure that's what I'm going to see
He's
in
a
the
cultural
chat.
well, man.
But
Kabasi and Chase.
And like I said, I'm not going to. I will probably feel a little less confident in this team if they don't go after Za'Darius Smith. I'm not saying that I'm out on them. I'm not saying that they can't win the Super Bowl. I just, especially if you can get them back for cheaper, I think that there's really no harm in it. Just imagine you have Hutch and Za'Darius with things as currently constructed right now, on a cheaper deal, by the way, so that for those people who say he shouldn't have been kept because of the cap hit and the dead cap next year, this doesn't even go into that. This is if they re-sign him. And then you have 3 guys who have shown flashes but all have warts. Marcus Davenport, very, very, I don't want to say injury prone, but in the last 2 seasons he's played 6 of 34 games. Josh Paschal, been inconsistent and missed a lot of games due to injury for every year of his career. AQM was basically for the better part of the last year, basically a year and a half prior to the last half of last year, was on practice squads. Wouldn't you like those guys to be your depth pieces? I would love Marcus Davenport, especially on that contract as like an edge rusher 3, who maybe has to spot start if there's injuries. I would love AQM as like edge rusher 4 or 5 and Paschal. I think if you had Hutch, Z, Davenport, AQM, and Paschal with the last 3 with all of their flaws, to me I might even bump my win total up to 13-4. I'm at 12-5 right now, but I think that can make that big of a difference, and I will definitively pick the Lions to win the Super Bowl. I probably still will because I am a homer in some ways, and you could definitely argue it, but I think Big Z is – he may not be the only missing piece, but I think he is a missing piece that could really put this team over the top.
Hey, I want to get the chat involved here, too. Randall Small. So – this all changes when Shepard, that's Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Calvin Shepard, announces that his defense will be blitzing more from the linebackers in the secondary position. And Eric Allen responds, Randall Smalls, I'm surprised when he goes a full show. What? Oh, I thought they were talking about the response to that one. But what Randall Smalls is saying here is something that I'm continuing to be intrigued with. I know what the Detroit Lions defense has generally done, but when they had to go on and create pressure without the use of having Aiden Hutchinson there and really leaning on Za'Darius Smith a lot, they were able to do that from the linebacker position. They were able to do that by bringing down, one of their safeties to be able to kind of refill that space as well in the middle. And that's why I'm hoping or wondering, when you get a Calvin Shepard, despite the fact that I do think a lot of what the Lions have done in the past, they're going to do that some more. I wonder if that wrinkle in the playoffs is something that we see Calvin Shepard, who's largely been the linebackers coach here, but has a keen understanding of all of the positions on defense, and we heard that from his previous coaches, some of them legendary. I do wonder if that's something that he starts to employ. Maybe not every play, but something that you could bring out when you're facing some of those quarterbacks. Think about the start of their season. It's not just, I know people talk about the outdoor games at the start of the season, but it's also the mobility of the quarterbacks that they're going to face. And so if you do have the players and the dogs, if you do have the ability to say, we can stop the run, and if you think that you need to manufacture or get a little bit more pressure home, that's where I'm hoping you got the linebackers and you have your confidence in them to be able to do it. We know Alexander Zaloni is smart enough to. So, Randall, I actually kind of feel that. Trust me, man. Especially as a lover of linebackers, man.
Yes. And just a couple of things before I throw it over to a couple of the other guys on the show, the booth boys, for lack of a better term, with all due respect. Za'Darius Smith is a 29. I'll just give a couple of names around him. This is a very interesting one. Montez Sweat on this list, 31. So even when the Bears make what seems like a good move, because obviously we know that his second half of 2023 was great and the Lions had some problems with him, the next year, what does he do? Kind of falls off a cliff. So even when it works, it doesn't. Shout out Ryan Poles. He fell off a cliff last year, by the way. I think 31 is a good spot for him. And at 28, we got Nolan Smith of the Eagles. He had 4 sacks in the playoffs. I can't argue with that. 27, Chop Robinson. I don't know if I'd put him over Z, although he had a good rookie year. Josh Sweat, 25. That's actually pretty low, given how much he was paid. And Abdul Carter at 20. Hasn't played a snap yet. That's interesting to me, although I actually don't mind that ranking because I firmly believe that pretty soon we're going to be calling him Abdul Parsons or Micah Carter because they both went to Penn State. But Justin Satawa, if you've got a second, looks like you're busy, but I just want to get your opinion on Za'Darius Smith. He is 29 on the PFF edge rusher list going into 2025, even though he's currently a free agent. 1, is that a good ranking? 2, how in are you on the Lions potentially getting him? Is that something you would like, dislike? Take it away.
Friend, don't worry. I always got time for you, baby. But yeah, I'd love for them to bring Z back. I think that it just makes a lot of sense. He already has the familiarity. I think that, like you said it perfectly, your edge room has a bunch of warts on it, and you just want to make sure that you have the best pool of players that you can pull from no matter who is in or out of the lineup, and you're confident in whatever one of the 3 is healthy to be that opposite of Hutch. And I think that with Za'Darius Smith in particular, he has everything that you could possibly want as an opposite to Hutch. He has the win rate stats, especially when he's going to be going against no double teams because Hutch is going to be the one demanding those. I think it makes too much sense for him to not bring back, and I truly believe that there is a deal in place. They're just waiting to sign it till later in the offseason. I have no doubt that Za'Darius Smith will be back as a Detroit Lion.
I hope you're right, by the way. Chase, how you feeling about the ranking for Za'Darius Smith, and how in or out on you on the Lions potentially re-signing him on the cheap?
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be in on them re-signing him. And the ranking, yeah, I think it's cool. It'd be nice to say that we have 2 guys who are ranked in the top 32. As far as I don't really take the rankings too much to heart personally and stuff like that. But I definitely like the idea of having a veteran in there who is coming into the season healthy with more familiarity with this team and this defense, who can just add some depth to this team and hopefully be a contributor late in the season too. Obviously he's hungry and wants to win, so hopefully it just kind of adds some more fuel to his fire and helps us get the job done.
Ring chasing with the Lions, love to see that. And before you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I generally don't put too much stock into these rankings beyond just emotional response, but when it's more so like PFF, who you're looking at them more like they look at the game more from an analytical standpoint, that's where it matters at least a little bit more, just a little bit more for me at least, and that's where when you see Big Z on that list, man, when you see Hutch on that list, I'm hoping we have a couple more people, at least one more show up on that list by the end of the season.
Yeah, and for the record, I don't have really any. I'm just glad Big Z is on this list. I'm glad that he's above Montez Sweat. By the way, that's a pretty sweet badge as a Lions fan. But JB Smooth,
what's up?
Yeah, Za'Darius Smith at 29. You cool with it? How in or out are you on the Lions potentially re-signing him this offseason on the cheap?
Oh, I think I'm in with it, especially at 29. I think that's fair. I'm definitely in on the Lions bringing him back. Obviously, we just want to see what exactly is going to happen with this offseason, a little bit of free agency that's going on right now. Obviously, some decisions need to be made as well, too, but ultimately, I think you could bring him back. Hopefully, they're looking for a little bit on the cheap, but I think he's a player who wants to be here in Detroit. Obviously, as Kool-Aid said, I mean, he loves the women here and loves Detroit as well, too, but I think the Lions are still kind of waiting out to see some other opportunities that might pop up as a little well, too. Apparently, Von Miller still wants to give it a go for one more year, even though I don't think that's an option for Detroit. But if you want to bring your veteran in, go right ahead. But I'm going to put my chips in Za'Darius Smith.
I'm interested myself to see what kind of a contract Za'Darius Smith will get, whether it's with the Lions or whether it's with another team. Because based off of even recent seasons in his 30s, he deserves to not have to. He doesn't have to, I don't think, necessarily go on the cheap. He could probably get a decent, at least short-term deal with a team, but he hasn't signed anywhere yet, and we also have to account for, and I'm sure GMs are doing it. I don't think it's going to happen, but he is closer to his mid-30s than his early 30s. Eventually, and very soon, most likely, he's going to fall off and not be. He's going to be even further up past his prime, but I think for one more year, he could be exactly what this team needs. And I think most people would agree that on the cheap, I don't think anybody disagrees for the most part that if Za'Darius Smith on a cheaper deal, on one in which he's locked in, no dead cap, no expensive signing bonus, which I wouldn't have minded anyway, but that's beside the point. I think that that's something we could all kumbaya over. A cheap Za'Darius Smith deal in which he is underpaid. Hey, that's how the Lions have won like they do, especially with rookie contracts, because, hell, almost every rookie they've ever had has been severely underpaid at some point.
Yeah, but now what's happening to those guys? They're turning into their most paid players on the team, and that's where you're hoping that these are the things Brad Holmes is able to continue to do. It's just Za'Darius Smith is probably one of the more talented players that he's attempting this with. Some of the others, they'll have some injury history, or they are not going to already have the relationship that Za'Darius Smith already has with the squad. So this one is very interesting. I'm glad that, the last comments that last few comments we got from Brad Holmes about it is that we've been in contact. So we know that means that there has to be a number out there. There has to be something. And they're just allowing Big Z to do what he does. The one thing we know is this. The Lions organization has left a good impression with Za'Darius Smith. He's talked openly, very, very glowingly about the Detroit Lions. And I'm hoping that in the end, this thing is just what they do for the old heads, man. Hey, look, bro, just get right, bro. We'll see you in about a month and a half or a month.
Hey, there's a couple of super chats that allude to that, but we'll have JB Smooth read those on the other side of the break. But coming up, we're gonna TLB a little bit more. Mike Florio and Chris Sims had some comments about the Detroit Lions. I thought it was very interesting, and I also thought it was a good conversation in which there was some pushback on some ideas that I'm sure a lot of Lions fans won't like. So I think you guys will become more of Chris Sims fans after this. I'll just say that. But first, JB Smoove. Oh, my goodness, we are way behind. Tell us about merch.
We are
That's my bad.
A little behind, but I'll tell you guys about some merch. Head over to woodwardsports.com. Click on the shop tab. We got new designs for you dropping every single week. I'm telling you, some new designs are coming your way, and they are fire. But go and pick up these Woodward Tigers gears that we have right now, so you can rock them down at Comerica Park. And you can't forget about the LFG Red Wings t-shirts, hoodies. They're still available for you right now as we speak. Head over to woodwardsports.com, and all you got to do is click on that shop tab.
You know how some things are so good they should be world famous, but they're not? Our house-made vinaigrette is one of those things. And the antipasto salad, we drizzle it over. Same with our hand-battered chicken tenders. Original recipe soups and pasta sauces. It's almost as if our original world-famous Detroit-style pizza is mocking them. And that's not very nice.
The boys of summer are here, and Woodward Sports is all over the Motor City with the White Claw Tigers Tour. Come party with Woodward Sports, watch the Tigers, and sip on some White Claw all summer long. The best bars, big giveaways, live events, and a party that only Woodward Sports can throw. Ain't no party like a Woodward Sports party. Join us Friday, June 13th from 5 to 7 with the heavyweights at Nemo's in Corktown for the White Claw Tigers Tour, brought to you by White Claw and Ven Johnson.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men today. Open 7 days a week. Sit back, relax, and enjoy precision haircut, scalp massage, hot leather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. Step up your game this season and take advantage of our $20 haircut special. Scan the QR code and get your coupon today. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, the ultimate haircut experience. Open 7 days a week. Walk-ins always welcome. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Hey, it's Planet Fitness, fitness that fits your budget. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. At Planet Fitness, you'll experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, friendly, knowledgeable staff, and a totally judgment-free atmosphere. Did you know that all Planet Fitness memberships include fitness training for no extra cost? Want all the perks? Upgrade to the PF Black Card and enjoy use of amenities such as unlimited use of the Black Card Spa featuring hydro massage, massage chairs, and total body enhancement, and more, along with access to over 2,500 locations worldwide and unlimited guest privileges. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com.
What up, though, people? Welcome back to this Wake Up Woodward. And you know what? Those super chats in there, just reading them. Dante151 and Randall Smalls. Echoing the sentiments, man. I didn't even see those when I started saying, like, I really, there's this hunch I've been saying. And they're saying it too. Could Smith just be waiting for OTAs to be done? Za'Darius is doing what all vets are doing. Come see me when preseason starts. Hey, who knows? Maybe. But Ed O'Neill also said something pretty interesting that I would love to be able to pick up on another show one day. And that's, you know, obviously we talk a lot about the defensive line, but what's that position group that worries you the most next? And I have, honestly, my biggest questions, I have some questions, man, about the linebackers.
And that's definitely a good topic for like an entire segment of the show. It's the summer. We're gonna need some Lions topics like that. But yeah,
coming soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, because it was a busy day that day, and we had Rod on. Shout out to Rod Beard. We didn't give the Zach Cunningham signing and what it could mean probably the attention that ideally I would like to. But if we make it a part of a linebacker segment next week, you know what? We'll do that. We can 100%. I can't promise you the day because things happen, but we are 100% going to do that. Shout out Ed O'Neill. Shout out show programmer Ed O'Neill. You guys do that more than you think, I promise. Neil says it all the time, but it is true.
So we talking about linebackers?
We will talk about linebackers next week, for sure.
Let's get back to a little bit of TLB. Word to the people out there, man. If you just want to update them again on that. And you know what? Can we satisfy the like button before we get into this? Because there is some tone from Florio. Some of it that I don't quite like. Some of it that I appreciated. Some of it, even though I didn't want to accept it, it was like, it made me think. So let's satisfy that like button. I don't know if we're going to get a duet out of Willie B and Cavassier Chase.
No, Willie can take it over today.
Hey, this is Willie B. This is clear the throat. Let me clear my throat.
Come on with it and get down with it. And it seems like she's ready. Come on down.
Hit that
and
like
satisfies that like button. hit the high notes, go deep with it, and go all the way lubricated and all the way down to like this button. Keep it smooth with it.
That is our guy, Willie B, man. Crash out style, chopped cheese, all the above. Hey, I love the WUW Crew and the extended family, but thank you for setting the mood over there, Willie B. Chat family, go ahead and smash that like button, run up the likes on this Friday show. We're going to talk about Pro Football Talk, the podcast between Mike Florio and Chris Sims, and they were kind of going through and doing a lot of their preseason kind of analysis on teams, and they got to the Detroit Lions, and they had some comments, one as it relates to their schedule, but I wanted to start with the first one, where Florio kind of gives his remarks on what he believes the Detroit Lions are facing this year.
One of the realities for the Lions, I don't know how much bigger the target is this year. The target was as big as it could have been last year, and they answered the bell in the regular season. They just tripped over their shoelaces in the divisional round against the Commanders, to everyone's surprise, most notably theirs. This year, with all the change on both sides of the ball as it relates to the coaching staffs, it's just hard to get, in my mind, a crystal clear image of what's expected of the Lions. Win the division, yeah. Beyond that, I don't know. How much are they going to use Jahmyr Gibbs versus David Montgomery? Is Jared Goff going to hit a ceiling? Is he going to be able to adapt and adjust to the new circumstances? How will the defense be? Will Aiden Hutchinson thrive the year after the badly broken leg that has kept him from getting his second contract? They like to give out second contracts draft week. They did it last year with Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right.
They did it this year with Kirby Joseph, not Aiden Hutchinson. That's kind of a quiet tension point that is going to flare up potentially if he doesn't get that.
What?
Okay.
Cook, Kool-Aid.
No. I'm because I've heard this clip so many times, and it's so crazy that we're sitting on the show now. We get to share the clip with the chat family, and you know what, man? I see the chat family. They already know what the deal is with Florio. And it's interesting because I know the full context. I understand that Chris as well on the pod has had some disdain for the Lions in recent years, but I actually appreciate, the second clip that we're going to say from him. But as it relates to Florio, what I wanted to be able to do a little bit more, and I tried that's what I was like, all right, let me just compose, man. After hearing this again, I'm getting worked up emotionally. But is there any truth to what he's saying here? Obviously, that there's some tension points he's talking about with Aiden Hutchinson and all that. No, I believe that Aiden Hutchinson and his team are big boys. I believe that they do business right. I think that they're professional, and I believe that they understand what this is all about. I don't think that the contract is anything that's on Aiden Hutchinson's mind as it relates to, are they going to really take care of me? You're Aiden freaking Hutchinson, and this is the Detroit Lions. They're going to take care of you. Those types of things I don't believe are of any concern. But some of the other points that he raised, when I was kind of going off about it to somebody else, they were like, but why isn't that a valid concern? But why isn't this? Why shouldn't that be a question? I'm like, but because the Detroit Lions they've answered these since they've been on a roll. They've answered questions and then some. I was told that Aiden Hutchinson injury was supposed to sink their season. I was told that Big Z wasn't going to be enough. But what we saw this team do was go out there and punch above a lot of these things. They've already answered the question of, are they a team that can get through all of this adversity? Now the question that they have to answer is, are they a team that can get through the playoff adversity? But as it relates to what this team is going to be to a lot of those questions, I do believe that though they're valid questions, they're not going to be any issue to the Detroit Lions being able to punch home the expectations, at least regular season-wise, that we expect.
Well, and this is where I'm trying to get in the mind of a Mike Florio, because Mike Florio, he's a Vikings fan. And a lot of what he's saying right now, I believe, is wish fulfillment. Are there some things, let me just say this. There is some concerns that you could raise that I think could potentially hurt some lesser teams. 1. 2, I don't think there's anybody in this room that thinks that the Lions are going 15-2 again. There's going to be some games that they lose. There's going to be some moments where even Mike Florio, even if it's their second or third loss of the season, to put them to a 5-2 or 7-3, where he's going to be like, see, I told you. The problem is that Lions just win the damn Super Bowl next year. Because when you don't, even if there's a ton of caveats, there's always something that people feel that they can say. There's always something that is going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. There's always something that you have to prove, especially when you're a franchise that has been so morbid for so long and is now, at least in terms of regular season success, an elite franchise. One of the franchises you could probably count on like one hand and a couple fingers that are like Super Bowl favorites. It's just go out, win the damn thing, prove that last season's playoffs was more because of injuries than anything, and shut Mike Florio's smug Viking fan face up.
And that's what I was going to say. The expectations that you're talking about, go out there and win the Super Bowl. It's no longer go out there and win the division. It's no longer can you go out there and win the playoffs. It's no longer can you go out there and win a playoff game. Now we're at that point. And you know what I do hear from Mr. Smug Florio? Just a little less smugness. If you remember the last couple years when we went and got these clips of the preseason expectations and his analysis of the team, it was straight up like, oh, the Packers and Jordan Love are so ready to take over the division. And then the next year, oh, maybe the Vikings are primed to this, that, and the other. This year is more like, they got these questions though. I don't hear the same gusto, the same, let's just bet. He's trying to bury him, but his hands are shaking and all the dirt's falling off where he can get it on the Lions' grave. I don't hear the same confident Florio who believed that the Detroit Lions were just a has-been organization that had peaked. I hear a guy now who's talking about them in the same tune of, he talks about, well, they win the division. Oh, no problem in the division. You see how people are doing that now? Last year and the year before it was totally different. So now what is it? Now all of a sudden you're going to find a way to get smug about a team, like you said, the expectation of Super Bowl. And for the Lions, I'm glad that the only way to shut these types of people up, and a large portion of people who are always going to try and hang 60 years over their head, hang what the Lions organization is over their head, the only way they do that is to win a Super Bowl. That is it. That you're 100% right. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter how it gets done. And it doesn't matter what keeps you from doing it. The only way that you shut those people up is by winning a Super Bowl. And how do we know that? Because the closer and closer we get, the more and more we see them guys balking. That's what we see right now. And all of a sudden, it's not like, you see how quickly he just, all right, NFC North, of course. But Mr. Vikings fan, you just sound salty then if we get into this, but look at this and look at these things. It wasn't even like he was focusing on a lot of the external. He was trying to act as if the internal issues were going to be factors to tripping up the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell's locker room.
Yeah,
those are the things I'm like, Florio, come on, my guy.
And this is the season, too, where I think Dan Campbell really proves to, if the Lions still have a great season, their offense doesn't take too much of a drop-off or no drop-off at all. Same with the defense, which if they're healthy, they're obviously going to be better. If it's proven that Dan Campbell's leadership and, of course, top down from Brad Holmes is enough to withstand coordinators being poached to become head coaches of other teams, which happens to good organizations all the time. This could potentially be where Dan Campbell really separates himself. He already is one of the best coaches in the league, but if they can win a Super Bowl with a new offensive and defensive coordinator, that's where you're like talked about in the same breath as like Andy Reid. I don't think he'll be Andy Reid quite yet, but that's where I think if he does it this year, I think he clearly passes Sean McVay on the list. And I love Sean McVay. I got a lot of respect for him, but if Dan Campbell does it with two new coordinators.
You know what it was, Sean?
What?
Exactly what the chirps were this offseason. It was crazy to hear like some of the NFL analysts say, whoa, slow down on some of the demise. But I mean by NFL analysts, the player ones, not the talking heads. I'm talking about the ones that are players that they're bringing. They're like, hold on, this is Dan Campbell's offense and Dan Campbell's defense. Some of these head coaches, they're more than managers. They're more than just, okay, I have an understanding, but we need to get the specialists. I thought that Ben Johnson was a specialist, somebody who helped take the foundation and add some things to this thing that made them that much more dynamic. But all these people are continuing to say, hey, Dan Campbell's still the guy, though, who has his hand on the pulse of and the foundation of both of these. He laid that. He poured that foundation. He allows his coordinators to build on that foundation, which is what we see out of those coordinators, out of those head coaches and teams, that despite what happens to good teams, where they get their players, some of their best players are going to lose, and some of their coordinators and positional coaches are going to lose, how do they continue to just keep the ship running forward? It is because of those legendary coaches who have their hands on both and a great understanding of both the offense and the defense.
Sure. And Rando Smalls in the chat. Sam, I agree. The Lions might not go 15-3 again, but I won't count this team from going 17-0. Rando, I don't even think that's a good thing. First off, there's no chance. I'm not trying to insult you or anything, but there's no chance whatsoever with their schedule. I mean, you think you're winning all of those road games, but I don't even think that's a good thing. I think that the Lions, and I get it, there were a lot of caveats to why, but I think last year also showed that, 15-2 was awesome, and I'm all about getting 1 seeds and advantageous playoff matchups. I get that, but at the end of the day, I think it's just as good for the Lions to go 12-5. I think that could help them pace themselves a little bit better, maybe give them some in-season adversity that they didn't have really towards the end of last year. I honestly think, and this isn't a bad thing, the Lions had us all believing that they could do something that damn near no team in NFL history has done, which is win a Super Bowl with all of those injuries to key players, because they had withstood it so well in the regular season.
And the team that did win
Yes.
it was
Yes.
the most healthy.
Sure, but the point is that it was always going to be a big time uphill battle, more than we ever realized. So in my opinion, be 12-5, win the division, hopefully get the 1 or 2 seed, be healthy, and then let's ride. Let's see if the Lions can get this done with a more healthy roster. And hell, maybe next year, nobody's talking about this, maybe some other teams have bad injury luck. I never root for injuries, but it happens to teams every year.
Shout out to Derek Carr.
Hey,
Shout out to Uncle Bruce.
And I'll tell you what, I can't really feel bad for them because I'm a freaking Lions fan. You know what I mean? I'm not wishing for anyone to get hurt, but I'm not going to apologize if, say, next year in the first round, the Lions beat up on an injury-riddled Rams team or something. I'm not going to apologize or
Quick
cry.
question. What were some of the thoughts that went through your mind when you saw Uncle Bruce Irvin bust through the line and light up Derek Carr?
When, honestly, at the time, I was just like, oh, damn, Bruce can do that. What really made me go, oh, snap, was watching Jameis Winston throw the football as the backup in that game. Good God, was he bad. Good God, was he erratic in
I
that
didn't know
game.
we were going to find a way
Good
to get to
Lord.
the roadmap for Fennell to take a shot astray at Jameis Winston.
But
I love it.
like in an isolated game, you might just get all-time morbidly
Stop
bad
smiling,
Jameis Winston. If you give him a couple of starts, he'll give you some games where he puts up a lot of yards and touchdowns. But in that game, the downgrade from him in that game to from a Derek Carr in that game, I truly believe that Bruce Irvin injurement of Derek Carr won them that game. And that's fine, by the way. It happens.
Jameis Winston's a spin on the roulette wheel. You're either you're hitting or you're not, man.
Yeah.
And you're all in.
Yeah. And Weezy D313. Oh no, it's the rest of the NFC's turn to get hurt. You know what? Again, I'm not going to root for injury because I like seeing the best players play.
Look at Flannel having to be the voice of reason.
But at the end of
to
the
our
day,
chat.
the point is that you never apologize for winning playoff games. You never apologize for anything like that because the Lions were on the other end of that last year, where I think a lot of us feel like injuries really robbed the team of the success that they would have had. You still should have won that Commanders game. I'm not giving them the excuse for winning that Commanders game, but at the end of the day, man, it was always going to be a battle that I ultimately think they wouldn't have won to win the Super Bowl with all of those injuries, including first and foremost, Mr. Aiden Hutchinson.
And you know what? Eric Allen in the chat with an absolute bar, a couple bars. This is MCDC went from 3-13-1. Shout out to him with the 3-1-3. to 9-7 to 12-5 to 15-2. It's like, if you have to be bad, find a way to get 3-3 in there. But he says, F anyone who questions MCDC on his coaching. They're just haters, and that's it. He's 39-28-1 in 4 seasons with the Lions, and that's with a 13-loss season.
Yeah, there's nothing you can question about Dan Campbell in terms of overall him being a great head coach. I just think that this upcoming year is a challenge that I ultimately think will make him even better. But it certainly is a challenge. And even if it doesn't matter ultimately, imagine if the Detroit Lions, let's just say this, it might not matter, and I hope it doesn't happen. If they lose week 1 to the Packers, it might not mean a damn thing, but you're going to hear rumblings.
You're going to hear rumblings.
Those are the things that the Lions fans, us as fans, are going to have to deal with unless they, somehow, some way have as good of a regular season as a last year. But we know in our heart of hearts that, just like I say with slumps in baseball, losses are going to happen. You don't want them to pile up, of course. You don't want to ever feel like you're fighting for your playoff life, but you're probably going to lose. And I'm saying being the Detroit Lions, probably going to lose at least 5 times, at least 4 or 5 times, and you could still be the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, and Ed O'Neill, right on point, because this was going to go along with something I was going to say too. He says, what if the Lions start off slow, but they get healthy back half of the year and finish 11-6? Are you confident in them, Sam and Woodward Pistons? Yeah, that was the floor for me, for this Lions team. I could see them going, winning 11 games. And how do the Chiefs fans react when they win 11 and they make the playoffs? Just like, oh, it's time to do work. This is what we do. It's so different seeing their fans react and respond to the ups and downs throughout their season. Like these teams, like the Patriots, the ups and the downs of the seasons. They can go through that. They see a loss and they're just like, oh, we're pounding the next 10 teams. And that's the confidence they have as fans, and you see that confidence exuded in their team as well. That's where, for me, no, I'm not going to be shaken if this team doesn't go out there and do what they did last year and win 15. If they go out there and they win 11, they pace themselves, they enter the playoffs healthy and the offense clicking, your rookies taking that next step, some of the players that you've brought in this offseason aptly contributing, and then those dogs that you paid that money to are still on target to be all pros and Pro Bowlers. I'm good with that. I'm 100% good with that, especially if this team is clicking at the right time. Like we saw, the San Francisco 49ers. They were not clicking at the right time heading into the playoffs. They had just lost 3 games in a row. Then they got, I think, 1 more win, and at the right time, their coach had everything going right. They got a few players back healthy, not everybody, and they hit the ground running, and they ultimately put the Detroit Lions out the playoffs. So for me, no, to me it's more situational than that, and I do believe in overall the plan of this team more so than what the record will be.
All right, here's where I have to give my ultimate caveat, and I've been consistent about this. And for the record, that 49ers team, they did have home field advantage. My thing is, and I've been consistent with this, and a lot of people won't like it and a lot of people will disagree. If 11-6 gets them the division title, I'm supremely confident. If they get off to a slow start, are healthy, win the division, I'm supremely confident. If they have to go in as a wild card, and I know that you're not going to like it, I know nobody in this room is going to like it, I know nobody in the chat's not going to like it, I'm not picking a wild card team to make the Super Bowl. Never have, never will, even if it is my beloved Detroit Lions.
Is there a team, because I know we got the other clip too, is there a team in the NFC North that you, which are the teams that you believe can get to that 11 or 12 wins? Because I honestly don't believe it's going to be as robust this season as it was last year, though I still believe they're going to be good teams. Wins-wise, though, I just don't think that we see that peak. You look at how many wins the top teams in the NFC North had. It was top heavy.
See, I think 11 gets it done. I really do.
I do too. Actually.
I think 11 gets it done. I think that NFC North is going to have 3 teams that are legitimately fighting for playoff spots, and maybe a 4th that maybe wins 7 or 8. Chase?
I'm seeing a couple 9-10 wins for the 2nd and 3rd place teams.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it went through or not, but if they did pass that rule where a wild card team with a better record would host the division, did that pass?
Lions withdrew because they didn't have all the support necessary at that point, but supposedly they're going to eventually bring that.
I was going to say, if that's the case, Sam, would that change your opinion?
Absolutely. 100%.
You have to play at home is what you're saying.
I don't want like the toughest 3 road game route. I think it's just a lot to ask. And I know some teams have done it, but you'll see throughout history that most of the great teams, the great dynasties, they do a lot of their playoff work, the vast majority of it, by playing every single playoff game at home. And I'm not one seed or bust, by the way. I am, though, I think it's very, very imperative for them to win the division, and I think they will. I think they'll win more than 11 games. I think they'll win 12, and I also think that ultimately 11 will get it done, because I'll tell you what, those Packers, Vikings, and Bears teams, their schedules. Actually, I think one of the teams actually statistically has a harder schedule. There's a lot of hard schedules in the NFC North. A lot of teams are going to lose more. The Vikings are going to lose more than they did last year. 100%.
Yeah. I see two Roop in the chat. He says Vikings with JJ at QB in year one. I don't think so. Charles McClain, Packers is the only competition for the Lions. That's my wild card. I love the crap on them. It is very easy to, and when you keep beating them like a drum, then you get the ability to talk trash. But if we're actually talking about, do I think that they're a formidable opponent? I do. They're the pick that I have finishing second in NFC North.
Okay.
And I have them. I have them, honestly, I had them winning. If the Lions were going to win 13, I had the Packers winning 11.
Okay.
But I can see it being a situation where
it's fine.
If this is a little bit cooled on what I believe, where I could see the Lions finish this thing with 11 or 12, and the Packers right behind them with like 10 wins.
Yeah, I think every team in the NFC North has some things that are of, I wouldn't say concern to the Lions, but their fan bases, their coaching staff, their players. There's a lot to like, I think, on every single roster in the NFC North. It's just that we'll have to see how it all comes together. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings, I think they have a fantastic roster and a head coach who has shown the ability to get the best out of quarterbacks. But JJ's a rookie. It's really tough putting that roster with guys like Justin Jefferson and Grenard and Van Ginkel and Hawkinson and Addison and Aaron Jones in the hands of a rookie. It's not ideal, but at the end of the day, I think JJ's going to be insulated, but he's a rookie, and he's a rookie also that has some questions. I think he's going to be good eventually, but I don't think it's going to be enough this year to overtake the division.
I think they'll be the second best team in the division.
I don't hate that, by the way.
The Vikings?
Yep.
Hey, talk to me.
I think with the Vikings' additions to their offensive and defensive line, I think it makes them the most formidable trench team in the division outside the Detroit Lions. I think that they have insulated JJ enough where he has elite weapons at every single position around him, and he's had a year to sit, look at the film, be in the room, become more of a professional, and I believed in JJ out of the draft. I thought that people knocked him because he wasn't asked to do a lot at Michigan. But what he did do at Michigan was he made every play that mattered every single game in that last year of his career. You couldn't say that about a sophomore year, so that growth was recognized. And I think that he's just going to continue to elevate. And I really think that he is going to – I wouldn't be surprised if he has a better season than Caleb Williams.
I mean, it could be. But and Justin, I'm glad that you mentioned – and I don't want to be – this isn't about being a Michigan slappy. It's about – I agree with you that I think JJ – there's a reason why, especially last year, they called it third and JJ. He made a lot more big throws than you think. And the running game there last year when they won it was not as formidable as it was the year before. Nobody ever talks about that, but it just is the facts. Look it up. Donovan Edwards' numbers fell off a cliff, and Blake Corum's numbers even took a dip. But go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask Justin to piggyback on that. He gave the reasons why the Vikings, and I'm intrigued, though. Why the reasons not the Packers?
I really don't like the Packers offseason. I don't think that they really did a lot.
I really don't like the Packers.
I just don't think, like, Matthew Golden, is that really what's going to take you to the next level? I don't think so. I think Jordan Love had that sophomore regression, and I think that that's more of what you're going to see. I think it'll improve a little bit this year, but I just don't think the Packers have the roster through and through to even compete on the level of the Lions and the Vikings. I just think that the rosters are so much better. And then if you go to the quarterback play, I think that there's a route where JJ's better than Jordan Love. I think it's obvious that Jared Goff's better than Jordan Love. So I just think that there's a really doable pathway for the Vikings with the second best roster outside of the quarterback position to be the second best team in the league if they get even a and where I went with this take is because Sam Darnold looked like he was God in that system last year. Like, he was untouchable. And until the very end, into the playoffs, where The schemes got tight, and he had to make tighter throws than he was used to, and he didn't have all those openings. But we're talking about the regular season here. We're not talking about the playoffs. And I think that if it's fair to expect that J.J. McCarthy is going to come in there and be at least as effective as Sam Darnold, if not more.
And
he adds another element to their offense with his legs.
Absolutely. And
Never a bad day
A
to
lot
hit
of
on the
those third and
Packers.
JJs were from his scrambles, by the way. And Justin, you know that as well as I do. He's got wheels, and I think he's smart and tactful about when he takes off, by the way, too. We'll see if that translates to the NFL. But this is interesting because we're talking about the division, the NFC North. I've been on the record saying that the NFC North is going to be the best division in football. Because you're talking about Jordan Love. And when I think about Jordan Love, there's you're going to like what I'm about to say first and not like what I'm about to say second. I think there's a pathway for Jordan Love to be the worst quarterback in the division this year. I really do.
I think that's so fair to say.
But
there's
also a pathway for him nipping at Jared Goff's heels.
Whoa.
I think the first scenario is. I actually don't think either is going to play out that way. But at the end of the day, I see a lot of things to like with every single team. But I think the other teams have more flaws, and certainly when it comes to quarterback play, JJ's a rookie, Caleb's in his second year, Jordan Love has been up and down. I'm more confident in Jared Goff leading this offense this year than the other quarterbacks of the other offenses this year. And I think that could ultimately be the difference. And, oh, by the way, best run game, too. That plays a big role in it as well, probably by far. Actually, definitely by far. Although Josh Jacobs is pretty damn good. But it's not Gibbs and Monty.
Listen, man,
Aaron
Jared,
Jones.
Tyrese Halliburton, Goff has a lot to work around him. And you know what? He gets the pass. He gets the assist. And that, to me, is what I love about how the Lions are positioned this year with their offense. I thought that some teams in the division, they did some nice things to try and improve. But the problem is, who's your technician at the middle of it? Who is the individual that you're trusting to make the right play? Who is the individual that you're trusting to clean it up after the wrong play? That is Jared Goff. We've seen him do a lot of that, and we know how large that last playoff game is going to loom. We know that the previous playoff series, he was darn near perfect. Everything that you needed to be able to get to the Super Bowl. So now you have year 3 of another playoff expected year, and now year 2 of Super Bowl expectations. And this is where, when you look at the NFC North, it's amazing how good the division has kind of shown up, despite the fact that I don't really believe in a lot of the quarterbacks in the division, which is so different. It's like a flip-flop world from where we were previously when I was growing up watching the Lions, hoping we can get a quarterback, and all the other quarterbacks in the division were doing things. Even there were times when I was jealous of Jake Cutler, of the Bears. So it's just like, now to see that those roles are reversed, it is interesting, though, because the Vikings are that team I was bullish on last year because, and I have to be fair now, the coaching is top-notch. I have to just tip the cap. It is top-notch. They're a team that just finds a way to get it done because they're so well built. I just believe, though, in those high-pressure moments, you have to have the technician that none of them do. Jordan Love is not that. Caleb Williams is not that. I believe that J.J. McCarthy will prove to not be that. But Jared Goff is that. And that was the difference ultimately in the division last year, was who is your quarterback.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, too? Now that you're saying that, I actually think that there's a chance that all 3 of those quarterbacks become that, but just not next year. Like I'm seeing something from
it's just not their window.
I mean, with Caleb, with JJ's first time, Caleb's second year, Jordan Love, I think he's better than a lot of people do, but I still don't think he's Goff. WeezyD313, I think, man, this is really taken off. I love it. But he says, Goff is greater than Caleb, who's greater than JJ, who's greater than Love. He seems to agree that I think it could be Love at 4th. And I'll tell you what, I would not be shocked if that's how the quarterbacks play out this year. I love Caleb Williams. I want him to be bad. I want him to be as bad as you guys think that he is. I just don't see it. And I think he's going to be a lot better this year.
I wanted to go Goff, JJ for obvious reasons, and then Caleb and Love tied for last.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that. But you know what's weird though? I think that Jordan Love could end up being the worst quarterback in the division, but still have a decent year. I'm not calling for him to have like 15 touchdowns and 20 picks, but it's just there's a lot of potential with Bears and the Vikings, and I also and Caleb and JJ, and I think there's also a lot of potential insulation with the coaching staff, with the moves that the Vikings have made in the last couple of years, with the Bears shoring up their offensive line more with some veterans. It's going to be interesting, but the bottom line is, and I've never varied away from this, even if you think I glaze other teams, the Lions are the favorite. I think they win 12 games. I think they win the division. And I think the Vikings, Packers, Bears, one, if not both of them, will win like 9-10. And maybe they might get a wild card team in or two.
I think that the margins are so small in this division, and you bring that up with the quarterbacks, and I think it goes with the teams as well. I was just running through the schedules last couple of weeks, and I truly believe that the Lions will win 12 games, but then you're going to see the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears all hovering around 10 to 8 wins, all just beating up on each other. I think it's going to go Vikings 10 and 7, right?
Yes.
Vikings 10-7, Packers 9-8, and Bears 8-9. I think it's going to be so lockstep, right down, one game difference. They all are just going to beat up on each other, and we all play such similar schedules. It's kind of brutal because we play the 3 best divisions in football outside of ourselves. So no team that the 4th place schedule doesn't necessarily exist in this division. Because when you look at the schedules, we play the AFC West, and we have to play the Chiefs, but they have to play the Broncos. The Broncos are going to be very good this year with one of the best defenses in the NFL on the road. That's going to be a brutal game to play.
They're losing that game, by the way.
They are losing that. I think almost every team that plays the Broncos in the North is losing that game. They're all on the road. I think the Vikings play them the Vikings play them at home, but the Packers play them on the road, and so do the Bears.
And I like that you put your ranking there, and it's interesting. You're a little bit more bullish, actually, on the Bears than I've seen many others. I've seen some people who believe the Bears are going to definitely be or look like a better team, but they're going to win 5 or 6 games. So you got them actually winning that 8, which means they would have had an opportunity probably in some games to have pushed their button for the playoffs, but the inexperience, getting used to new offense underneath Ben Johnson will probably make some mistakes in your scenario and just miss out. That's a pretty tight and competitive NFC North, which I would call it, even though we know the Vikings had a great year last season, I would call that a lot more competitive from top to bottom than last season's NFC North. I could see it working out that way. I do have Lions, Packers, Vikings, and then Bears. I had Bears winning 6 games this year, but what about you, man? How this NFC shakes out before we get to that last game?
Can I say one thing about the Bears before you set up for Flannel?
Sure.
Because I do think the Bears are going to be very similar to the Lions that started the year 1-6, and then were able to bounce back and win some games down the stretch. I think that they're going to struggle out of the gate. I don't think that Caleb Williams is going to pick up Ben Johnson's offense very quickly because of the fact of how reckless he is with the ball and how he loves to improvise. And I think once he kind of gets used to the fact that, I just have to be a distributor, I don't have to do too much, Ben Johnson will set everything up for me like he did for Goff the last couple of years. I think once that they make that shift, I do think the Bears are going to start playing a lot better, but I don't think that they're going to be a playoff team, and I think that they are going to have some issues with their roster down the stretch. They're not as complete as any other team in the NFC North.
Hey, especially since, as I said before, and hopefully this continues, quiet is kept, and PFF hasn't kept it quiet. Montez Sweat fell off big time last year. He was supposed to be their Aiden Hutchinson or their answer to a Myles Garrett. Not as good as those, but like a clear number 1 edge rusher who could wreak havoc. Because
had Lions fans freaking out at the trade deadline.
Hey, and I'll tell you what, Montez Sweat, because he was that when he came to the Bears in the second half of 2023. But that's one of those, thought was a great signing, still might be a good one. We don't know. Hopefully like a Drew Dahlman signing is not quite as good as they think, or maybe even Joe Thuney. I have my doubts about that, but who knows? Bears have had a lot of fumbling in terms of signings. Tremaine Edmonds on line 1.
All right, I want to get to that last clip because I know we have some other things on the menu too, and it's interesting how they kind of put this in perspective, more or less from Chris than from Florio.
Absolutely.
But let's get to that last clip, JB Smooth.
Of times we're going to see the Lions this year. They have played their way into marquee territory. This is going to be the biggest challenge they've had of their resurgence because there's a lot of new. There's a lot of first. When you've been a perpetually downtrodden franchise, all of a sudden you're winning games. you get the problems that go along with winning games.
Yes.
Like, you got to pay your players. You're going to lose assistant coaches. And now you're going to have a big platform from which to fall. In the past, when they stunk, it wasn't as embarrassing because nobody noticed, except for on the Thanksgiving game. Now, if the wheels come off for the Lions this year, man, the only thing to remember, and we haven't mentioned this much, but we need to, the flexing is so prevalent, potentially. There's so many bad games that can be yanked away later in the season, whether it's to Sunday night, to Monday night, to Thursday night. Keep that in mind. If one of these teams that has drawn a lot of primetime games just doesn't have the season work out,
right,
we won't necessarily be required to suffer through some late season stinkers from teams that weren't as good as we thought they were going to be. Not that I'm saying the Lions are going to be bad or the Chiefs are going to take it. I'm just saying the primetime games are far more important the first half of the season because those aren't getting changed.
Right. No, but I do feel like, again, back to what we were talking about, they're taking less chances here this year, where they're putting teams like the Lions and the Chiefs and the Eagles and some of these late primetime where it's like unless they lose their 5 best players, like, they're going to be in the mix. So I would just be shocked if it doesn't work out. Here's another.
My man, brother Evan Chris, dog. Hey. Goodness gracious, man. And I'm so glad you said it during the break. Like, he pushes back on the comments from Florio because Florio seems like he is ready to see the Lions implode. He can't quite say that they're going to, so he continues to pick at and try and throw up all of the problems that the Lions could face. But us as Lions fans, us as Lions observers, us as people who cover Lions, content creators, whatever you want to call it, we've been so zeroed in on this team, calling out a lot of the things we thought were going to be weaknesses in years past. And what have they done? They've told us and they've shown us, actually, guys, you guys might be overestimating these things. Our demise is not as close as you would like it to be.
Well, this is, again, I use the phrase wish fulfillment because he is a Vikings fan, and I think as all Viking fans should be, they are terrified of the Lions having more Super Bowls than the Vikings. That would be one of the sweetest chef's kiss feathers in the cap that I could have as a Lions fan. And the Lions still have to do it, but I think the Lions are clearly more likely to get there and get it done than the Vikings are. I appreciate what Chris Sims said because notice the teams that he mentioned. The 2 teams that met in the Super Bowl and the Lions. Basically what he's saying is that if you're a strong organization, if you're a great roster, if you're just a great team, which I think the Lions, at least in the last couple of years, are a great regular season team, you're impervious to those kind of things. The new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, there might be some lumps in the beginning. There might be some slow starts. There may be some games where it looks a little rough. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, when it's time for those primetime games, when it's time to, when everything clicks, there's still going to be that team that's like 11-4 in that primetime game in a great matchup. There's still going to be that team that at the end of the year, they are going to be ahead in the division and have a very, very good chance and a good route to potentially get to the Super Bowl and win it. And the great thing is, Chris Sims, those are 2 organizations that not only have done it once recently, have done it multiple times recently, and the Lions. That's very, very high praise from someone in Chris Smith who has not always been as kind to the Lions. But at the end of the day, the more the Lions continue to prove, at least in terms of being a good team, they're going to change people's minds. And I think if Mike Florio were a little bit more objective, maybe he would not be clearly preying on the Lions' downfall so much. It's as obvious as the grass is green that Mike Florio prays at night for the Lions' downfall.
That's why I like Chris Sims, and even it seemed like he was even a little agitated with what Florio was saying because when you see the full clip, you realize this is all Florio's doing. It's not a lot of but Jared Goff is this, but J-Mo is this, but Panay is this. All the talk about Aiden Hutchinson, none of it had anything to do realistically with the effect he can have on the field. All of it was this, he's injured. He's coming back from injury. They have this contract. They have this, that. Look, bro, when he's chasing, for a fellow Michigan man around the field and you guys are looking terrible, I know then you're going to have a lot more that you could say about Aiden Hutchinson, but what do we continue to see Florio do? Move the goalposts just a little bit so he can't be as vibrato about, they're ready to get passed up this year. All he can do is continue to try and drum up what he believes to be the negatives. So that's what's interesting to see Chris Sims just be like, Nah, gives a F about any of that. This team is going to be right in the mix in the end. The only thing that's going to keep them from being in the mix, knock on all the wood, what did he say? Injuries. If this team is healthy, this team is talented. Period. It's like people forget, like realistically, who's stopping the offense? We've only seen them do it themselves. We've seen them do it themselves. Uncharacteristic mistakes, unforced errors. I take this offense up against any defense in this league. I take this Lions offense up against any team in the league overall. Well, I really do.
I'm glad that you say that, because when you look at just their losses last year, the first one against the Buccaneers, they were undone by terrible red zone efficiency, like terrible red zone efficiency.
That's probably the one I would tip the cap the most to the most out of last season.
But they still moved the ball.
Made some bad
in the Buffalo
decisions.
Bills, absolutely they did. But that I'll give you that one. But in the Buffalo Bills game, they didn't lose because of the offense. And in the Washington Commanders game, they, tripped on their ding-dings a lot. Shout out Jared Goff. But they were moving the ball consistently. They stopped. It was turnovers that stopped them.
Clean up on aisle 3.
And credit to the
bag wet.
Of course, credit to the Commanders for making the plays. Like shout out Mikey Sanderson for example. But at the end of the day, you never really saw a team stop the Lions. Like the only thing you can argue is the Buccaneers game, and they were moving the football.
Yeah, Eric Allen said we had goodness gracious. He said we had a bad game 2 against the Bucs. And this was with the same coordinators coming back for year 4. It's the NFL and crap happens. The Lions will be fine and win a third NFC North title. And it's interesting because where the conversation continues to be pushed to for me, and you said it best, Flannel Sam, it's just win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, win the
I
Super Bowl.
expect the title. I expect there to be some battles this season. I expect them ultimately to be in the playoffs, have an opportunity at another home playoff game. But it's what are you going to do to cash in on this finally? This window doesn't just last forever, despite your best efforts to keep it that way. The reason why some of these other windows stay open, it's different when you're starting your career with a young Tom Brady or a young Patrick Mahomes. We're starting in the middle of the career of Jared Goff. You want to push that button now.
He's in his prime.
Right now.
He's in his prime, and he's been in his prime, I think, for at least the last 2 years. You could argue a 3. And Weezy D313 picks up what I'm putting down. Shout out Valeni. Yes, I shouldn't have. I almost would have plagiarized that if he did check me. Yes, trip over their ding-dings is something I've heard Mike Valeni say many, many times. And it always made me chuckle. He's one of the best in the business. I've gotten a lot from him, but he's also hating on Tiger fans a little too much for celebrating for my taste recently. That's why I've always said, if you're looking for a curmudgeonly opinion or a curmudgeon on a day, if your team loses and is bad, there's nobody I'd rather want in my corner than a Mike Valeni, because he will speak to your frustrations. I just hate when he craps on fans for being excited about a Tiger team. You know what I mean? He tends to do that a lot.
Yeah, I get it. And to some degrees, we all gatekeep some fandom, but that one, he's almost doing it from a position of all Tigers fans. Anybody excited about what the Tigers are doing right now, he's just going to just scoop us in one shovel and just throw us out, man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, bro. This is what has made Detroit sports what it's like. The fans, the lore that we have about it, this is what's made it that. Whether it's us banding together to say things need to change, shout out to Sean Belizean in the Million Man March, or whether us coming together and selling out 270 straight games at the Palace of Arbor Hills, shout out to all the corporate tickets that were sold too. Yeah. But, these fans, they're the ones that really drive this. If you talk about the draft and Green Bay talking about, we're going to break records. No, you're not. You're really not. Detroit did.
Detroit did. And actually, man, we have blown past every break and then some. Let's do like 6 reads before we come back. And actually, JB Smoove, if you don't mind, I would like to pull one audible.
Yeah, I'm cool.
A friend of the show, one of the best friends of the show, you know him well, I know him well, Mr. Austin Zadar came through with a fan video, his third one. We're going to play that when we come back, and he's got a question for all of us. Shout out, Austin.
Shout out to Austin. JB, I think it's on me for a few reads in a row, huh?
So we got to hit Loom, Caesars, Buddies, and Dr. Pierce.
All right. Let's rock, man. Let's rock. We about to throw the rock around the squad right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go from one booth to the other booth and then Kool-Aid for a couple, right?
Yep.
All right, let's rock. Let's rock.
All right, you
Passing
guys,
the
if you're
ball to
looking to
Chase.
get loose, spring is in the air, and Michigan is buzzing. 7.5 milligrams of real THC wrapped in bubbles, crafted with real fruit juice, and no artificial sweeteners. They're big in flavor, but low in calories, and 100% hangover-free. It's all bubbles with no troubles. Catch it in watermelon, cherry, strawberry, or try one of the 2 brand new flavors, raspberry lemonade and peach. Crack a can, take a sip, and catch a buzz. Available anytime or at Loom's 38 locations across Michigan. Use code WSN30 for 30% off your entire order, and or online or in store. Go to www.com, www.loom.com today.
And Caesar Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of us here at Woodward Sports. Scan a QR code on screen. Use code word Woodward 1000. Deposit up to $1,000. But all you have to do is place a minimum of a $20 bet. And if it doesn't hit, they will throw it right back into your account. If you bet on Halliburton last night, guess what? That 20 is right back into your account to double back down on. Again today, maybe some WNBA games if you're into it. But scan that QR code on screen. Use code word Woodward 1000 and make some money tonight.
You know, and when you get that money, you can take it right on over to Buddy's Pizza. Why? Because they're serving the best of the best of Detroit-style pizza, because they are the original since 1946. 79 years later, they got 22 locations in this great state of pure Michigan. And you guys can visit where it all began on the corner of 6 Mile and Conant. Sign up for the Buddy's Rewards to earn points on every purchase and receive exclusive promotions. Download the Buddy's Pizza mobile app and start earning today. And add some Detroit style to your next meal. Save 10% off your entire order using promo code 10MIL. That's the number 10MEAL, Buddy'sPizza.com. And attention sports fans, which I know all of you are, don't miss out on expert sports injury insights with Dr. Jeff Pierce of Michigan Sports and Spine. Join Dr. Pierce every Tuesday on Big The Energy, every Thursday on Armani and Edwards, where he's offering you top-notch injury advice. Trust the guy that DMAC does, because Dr. Jeff Pierce is here to keep you in the game and performing at your best. For more information, visit MichiganSportsAndSpine.com or call 248-426-9944.
Woodward Sports is here to give you all the Detroit sports you can handle. Weekdays, make sure you're locked in on Wake Up Woodward from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Followed by Big D Energy with Neil Rule and Darren McCarty from 11 a.m. to 1. Up next, you can't miss Armani and Edwards with Maz from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And finish the day out with the bad boys of Detroit sports media, the Woodward Heavyweights, from 5 to 7 p.m. Okay, wait, that isn't enough for you, you sports freak. Check out Woodward Wings, Woodward Ringside, and the Lions Weekly Update every Sunday with Broder, Terry Foster, and Sean Baligian. Subscribe on YouTube for all our great content, and make sure you're following on all social media: X, IG, Facebook, and TikTok. You want sports? We got you covered. Detroit's #1 sports network, Woodward Sports.
How do people feel about getting a Planet Fitness membership for $15 a month? How do they like working out in a clean and spacious gym that's filled with equipment for every workout? And how about free fitness training in the judgment-free zone that leaves them feeling energized all day long? Join Planet Fitness today with the free PF app, online or in club, and start getting that big fitness energy for $15 a month.
Head to WoodwardSports.com and click on Shop. Get the latest in Detroit sports apparel and exclusive Woodward Sports gear. WoodwardSports.com can get the whole team outfitted. Love the Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers? We got something for you, too. Shop online at WoodwardSports.com.
All in all, Tigers fans, join us for the White Claw Tigers Tour. Woodward Sports will be hitting 4 of the top bars. We already hit the first one, Mick Shane's, and it was epic. Shout out to Jake from White Claw for being out there and all of the people who came out to support. And what are we doing? We got the pregame, and then we're watching a Tigers game together with the people. So join Spencer and Easy Friday, June 13th for our second stop on the tour at Nemo's Bar in Detroit. Be part of the fun and see our reactions live on Woodward Sports Network to one of the hottest teams in baseball. It's the White Claw Tigers Tour, brought to you by White Claw and Vin Johnson Law.
Les Stanford Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. You can lease a 2025 Sierra for $169 per month, get a 2025 Hummer for $699 per month, or lease a 2025 Envision for $259 per month. Stop into Les Stanford today if you have any car needs. They have a couple of locations in Dearborn and Ferndale.
Guys, let's be honest, we like simple stuff. We like gimmies on the golf course. You know what another gimme or uncomplicated? Kay Cunningham is greater than Tyrese Halliburton. You know what? What else is uncomplicated? Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, sign in, and before you know it, you're handsome and clean. Lady Jane's open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It is wicked awesome.
And you can't forget about the Massage Chair House.
Yeah. You're looking to upgrade your relaxation game? Check out the Massage Chair House in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, the largest massage chair showroom in the Midwest, with top brands for Michigan chairs like Infinity and Osaki, located near the corner of Woodward and Long Lake Road. Experience luxury comfort like Dr. Eric Duncan, the Wellness Doc, creator of the top YouTube massage chair review channel. Book a visit at www.massagechairhouse.com or scan the QR code. Massage Chair House, your ticket to ultimate recovery and relaxation.
Hey, and we are back at his Wake Up Woodward. It's been a Friday show, man. It's been a dope show. Good conversation, good topics. Getting the juices flowing a little bit when we talk about the Detroit Lions and this NFC North, what we expect out of them. And then to hear the haters amongst the media, out there. Shout out to Florio. And then someone like Chris, who in the past, I didn't see him push back like that against Florio and his belief that the Lions weren't really who we thought them to be. This year, he was just like, nah, bruh, I ain't with you on that one. These Lions are here to stay.
Very refreshing from Chris Sims. But speaking of excellent humans, good friend of mine and JB's and friend of the show, Austin Zadar, sent in a video, and I think he has a question about the Detroit Tigers. So go ahead, JB, and play that if you would.
Let's go, Austin.
What's going on, Woodward Sports? It is your boy Austin, and I've got another question to ask. So these Tigers, my Tigers, the Detroit Tigers, they are sitting in first place in the American League. They are sitting quite comfortably well in their own division. But am I crazy to say here, going into June, do they really need another bat? Do they need another arm? Am I crazy thinking that? Or is this something that we need to invest in and get us on the right path and keep us going to keep us in first all the way until the postseason? Please let me know.
I love how he used his 1930s
accent,
announcer
yeah.
voice. Oh, Tigers.
Can we have him impersonate Mass?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a line drive to deep right field. That is gone. Okay, anywho, that's can't do it as well as Austin can. But to answer the question, it's interesting because you're looking at the standings right now. The Tigers have a comfortable lead, but in terms of the AL, the Yankees are on an absolute tear. They've closed the gap when it comes to number one seed in the American League, which may or may not matter, but they're on a tear as well. I think everything can be on the table. You never know with injuries. Parker Meadows is still not back. Matt Vierling, who knows how long his second IL stint is. Obviously, if the Tigers are looking to make moves at the trade deadline, 100% they're buyers. And if they can get the right move, if they can get another bullpen arm, another right-handed bat, we'll just see who becomes available. But yes, 100% the Tigers should exhaust every avenue to win the World Series in the next 2 years, because you might not have Skubal long-term. But if you win one when he's here cheap, I don't give a damn if they re-sign him or not. So yes, the Tigers should be buyers, although do I think they could potentially have enough as currently constructed, especially with Skubal? Yes, I do. But definitely buyers, if anything.
Yep, and it's interesting because it feels like our teams are all getting closer to this point where the moves are no longer about how do we make them competitive. Now the moves are about how do we go out there and win the big one. Yeah. The Lions, we're talking about how do they win a Super Bowl. The Pistons, we're even talking about how do they solidify their chance to be a top 4 team, which gives you a good chance to host a lot of home games on your route to what I believe, wide open path in the East. There are some teams that the Pistons have to pass up, but I don't believe that it's just overly daunting with how things are shaping up now. And then when you talk about the Tigers, it's more of the same. We're no longer talking about the moves that you need just to make them competitive. We see what they are. But what do you want to do? You see that you're amongst the big boys, and you've already gone out there and spanked the Yankees head-to-head. So it's just like, will these moves, am I doubting in the Tigers if I want them to do something else? No. I believe that the Detroit Tigers, as currently constructed, are going to be one of your best teams in baseball. But when you want to go and give yourself that much more of an advantage, shore up some more of your weaknesses, and make sure that there is less for, some of the other teams to be able to attack, I do believe that there's just a little bit more out there for the Tigers when we're talking World Series expectation rather than just can they be good or competitive or make the playoffs.
And that's what it is. They're a team that I'm talking about as could potentially win the World Series this year. And I know that it's early. I know the season's not even half over. I know we're just getting into June, closing out May. But at the end of the day, they should exhaust multiple avenues. And Rando Smalls said that Parker Meadows will come back and just basically pick up where he left off. I will say this. Parker Meadows' return is imminent. I didn't mean to make it seem like he's not going to come back or anything. It's imminent. He's playing in the minors right now. He will be back very, very soon. But I guess in the ebbs and flows of a baseball season, we might find that they lose the battle of attrition a time or two, like we've already seen with Reese Olson and Casey Mize for a stint. We've seen it with Matt Vierling going right back on the IL. They might go through a stretch where they struggle. That's where we're really going to find out who the Tigers are and if they need some more to put them over the top. They have the war chest to make a big move. They've got some other prospects to make a more Moneyball type move, which I can't say what that is just yet. But exhaust multiple avenues. You don't have to stand pat. But if you do, I'm not going to say they can't do it either. Especially if Tarek Skubal has that Madison Bumgarner run in him. Shout out, Justin. If he does that, they will win the World Series, even if their lineup struggles in the playoffs.
There's a lot of news going on around the Vikings right now, and it's not just them bringing back the general manager, but also his comments on something we were just talking about in this that could be pivotal in the NFC North. And it's about J.J. McCarthy. They believe they found their star quarterback.
Ooh, maybe a topic for next week. But,
yeah.
Hey, you know what? Kwesi, he drafted him.
Yeah.
A lot of his legacy is going to be built upon if J.J. McCarthy succeeds or not.
He just got a multi-year contract.
Yeah, extension.
Yeah, breaking news, Ian Rappaport.
Who?
Kwesi.
Oh, Kwesi. Oh, yeah. Hey, he's done some nice things, but he's also had some draft blunders. So we'll see. The Sam Darnold deal ended up being highway robbery, by the way. So credit to him for that. But we'll see.
Speak easy. I see you easy. He said no way they just extended him. Look, man, they must really, really believe
he's had some really bad draft picks. I'll say that. But they were 14-3.
Hey, I can't wait for Monday's show already. I know we're going to have a breakdown of what's going down at the Detroit Grand Prix. Shout out to that dude, Justin, who's taking a lead this weekend in reporting, as well as Fast and Loose, who are going to be boots on the ground, in addition to others. Myself, Maz, Pete, Let Pete Cook. I know the interns are going to be there. Intern Ryan's in the building right now, and you're going to head down there shortly to the Grand Prix. So it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a big weekend for Detroit to be on a national scene and to be spotlighted. It was awesome already. Kicked things off at the media luncheon. Cavassier Chase, intern Ryan, Justin, myself. And I know that the folding event the night before, we had already talked about that. Now, the fun is really going to start. So if you guys can get down there, hey, we'd love to see you. If you see anybody from Woodward Sports, stop us and say what up, though. I'm telling you, man, it means the world to us. But I can't wait for Grand Prix. I can't wait for Detroit to be in the national spotlight. Oh, yeah. And for our backdrop all weekend to be in the city.
Hey, shout out the Grand Prix. It's a great event. It's a event. Multiple days. Multiple people you might see. I'll just say that.
Hey, it's awesome. You know, we were sitting at tables with some drivers and such. They're just sitting amongst us. To hear them talk about Detroit was actually pretty cool. So let's rock, man. Is it time to break this thing down?
Yep.
Hey, chest pass. Boom shakalaka. Hey, this has been Wake Up Woodward, and the chat family, as always, we appreciate you guys for choosing to kick off your day with the WUW Crew. If you didn't get an opportunity to, please go ahead and smash that like button to support, and not just our show, but all the rest. Big D Energy, Armani and Edwards, and the heavyweights. In the sound booth, we got Fri-Yay, Chase. What up, though? And I know you got some compliments in your Jackson College shirt today, too.
Yeah, appreciate it. Alumni. So, first got my first degree from there. But, yeah, hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope you guys have fun if you make it down to the Grand Prix. I want to say special thank you to my dad and my buddy Harlan. I moved yesterday to a new apartment, and my dad came down, helped me a ton. Getting everything moving. He's a 68-year-old man, so he's doing a lot of heavy lifting and shit like that. So I can't thank him enough, and my guy Harlan for helping me out too, because we were roommates. Him and his girlfriend got a place together, and he's still giving me a hand, helping me get all my stuff out into the new spot. So shout out, appreciate you guys, and look forward to hanging out with everybody Monday morning.
Hey, shout out, man. Shout out to you, and I'm hoping that everything continues to go according to plan, and it even gets better, man. Shout out to Fri-Yay, Chase. Glad to have you here, man. Woodward Sports MVP in the TD booth. That is JB Smooth, my brother.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Shout out to everyone in the chat staying tapped in with us today, this week as well, too. Get ready for the weekend. Myself, Chase, Justin, a lot of the interns, Kool-Aid, Flannel will actually be down there as well, too, at the Detroit Grand Prix. It's going to be a lot going on, so please stay tapped into the network because we're going to be posting every single thing that we do over there, and we're also going live on Sunday as well down there as well, so just stay tapped in. Another episode of Fast and Loose out right now. Woodward ringside is going to get pushed back to Sunday, I believe, because me and KG got some scheduling conflicts going on. But there will still be another episode for you guys for you this weekend. And hey, if you want a little bit more of JB, No Chill Podcast out right now. Right. Just click on my profile. It'll take you right to it.
Yep, thank you for reminding the people of that, man, too. And the live stream Sunday, live from the Grand Prix. We are going to do something we haven't done before, and we're going to have reporters all over the city, man, at different places of interest, including Fast and Loose. So Justin's gonna be out there. Fast and Loose is gonna be at a different spot. We're gonna have a couple different reporters, live broadcast, checking in with those people. I can't wait, man. Make sure you tap in. It will be broadcasting, I believe, an hour after the Lions Weekly Update show on Sunday. We got the vet. You know what? Willie B. What up, y'all, Willie B?
Wow, it's been a laid back, smooth day. Y'all handling y'all business as usual. Hey, man, it's a fun Friday. I can tell y'all, man. It's nothing like hearing some sports, some good content. I'm just going to sit back and listen to what y'all got to say, what y'all got to do. So, hey, I'm learning. I'm absorbed like a sponge.
Hey, I appreciate the perspective of Willie B, man. You brought a lot of light and passion to this place, man. I appreciate you. Intern Ryan in the building. Final Sound, Vet of the Squad, Vet of the Network. What up, though, brother?
Willie B, I feel bad for hijacking the first 45 minutes with Halliburton Cade stuff. We'll get you more involved next time. I was just
no big deal.
In one of those sociopathic type zones that you only get once every month or so. That was today for me at least. Yeah. But anywho, yeah, shout out to the Detroit Tigers. Play a big series at Kansas City. Love to see them get 2 out of 3. And you know what? If for some reason in one situation and one at bat, Riley Green doesn't come through when you want, and the Tigers still have a good series, back off!
It's all right, damn. It's all right, Sammy.
Let people just see the back of the jersey for once, too,
all right,
man.
All right.
Justin, this is a Friday show. There you go. Hey. And it's your boy Brandon Dan K, Detroit Kool-Aid, your credential pistol reporter and writer for the network. This has been a good show, and chat family has been active. Even the trolls, it doesn't matter. Continue to bring it in the chat. Shout out to the crowns too, man. Let's see who's wearing the crown today. Greg Allspaw, number 1. Number 2, Randall Smalls. Number 3, Chuck Brewer. Number 4, Ski Mask Boy. Number 5, Detroit Gunny. And I'll say number 6 too, Eduardo O'Neal. So shout out to everybody being active in the chat. I'm seeing some more OGs as we round out the top 10 or 11. This is what it's about, man. And the more you guys support us, I'm telling you, the more that it spurs us to be able to produce, to be able to be out there. These are the most credentialed events we've been at in this span, man. Yeah. And it's awesome to see what's happening and how it's providing more opportunity for all of our hosts and content creators here. So, You know what? Hit that like button. Have a blessed day. Spend like a couple.
What's up, everybody? JB Smooth here with the Great D Legends, Stingray Rob. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
First question off the bat, I gotta ask. You have the coolest nickname. How did you get it?
Well, first off, it's not a nickname. It's my real name.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's my real name.
You win the coolest name award, period.
Oh, thank you.
How do you know that, man?
I mean, it worked out well. I was not going to be a good accountant, so Good thing I got into motorsports. But the story goes, my parents were big Corvette fans, so they decided to name me after the Stingray Corvette. That's where the passion came from. But the longer side of the story is my dad's side of the family's heritage is from Stirling, Scotland. So Sting is actually short for Sterling, and then both my grandfathers had Ray in their name. So I think that was just an excuse to name me after the Corvette, but it worked out well in the end.
I mean, it's a pretty cool name, so I gotta think it paid off for you a lot.
Absolutely.
And I was gonna ask, but I think you already answered. If you weren't a race car driver, what would you be doing?
Not an accountant. Definitely not an accountant. No.
I gotta ask, you transition from the Indy 500 to obviously this Detroit track we have right here. What's the most difficult thing you think about facing?
Oh,
I mean, you're looking at two extremes on either end of the spectrum there. I mean, we're going from the fastest, smoothest track that we go to all year to the slowest, bumpiest circuit that we go to all year. So, oh no, but that's IndyCar, man. Like, you got to be adaptable, you got to be versatile in different conditions, and this track is the prime example of that. So I think for us as drivers, we're really looking to get comfortable back on the street circuits first off, but second off, just getting a good package under us, because being comfortable around this place is hard to do, but every little thing makes a big difference. And so it really is up to the driver, but at the end of the day, if your damper package isn't right, if your springs aren't right, it's going to be a really, really tough day.
I got you. Well, I hope you know we are rooting for you. I'm rooting for you because you have the coolest name possible.
Well, thank you.
So just know I'm looking out for you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're gonna specifically, even if we post the full interviews, we'll still specifically clip those portions.